Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Youmans, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiofalo, and Hek'ma Harrison.
Unbelievable time of year it has been throughout really the 17 weeks we've been a part of this show. This is the first season of Whataburger Friday Night Stars, and this is the first time we're going to get to talk about some champions from a state championship level. My goodness, it is great to be here live from the Star in Frisco. Kyle Youmans, Hek'ma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, and the Eric Chiofalo joining you here from the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. And boys, it's about that time. Our next,
it is about that time.
Next to final show, and yes, we are
Final
doing one
Friday
more
night.
show.
Final Friday night of the Texas high school football season.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a long season, but man, has it been a ride. And you look at really all the teams that are a part of this week's UIL Texas high school football playoffs and the championships that are being held at AT&T Stadium, and they all deserve to be there. Very fittingly, all those teams deserve to be where they are. And my mic does not deserve to be where.
It's a mic drop moment.
It is a mic drop moment. While I'm on a close-up as well. But it's really just been an incredible road to see how these teams have developed throughout the season, and now we get a chance to actually talk about some championships. And then tomorrow we'll wrap up the season. Do you want to promote that a little bit?
Big announcement.
We're going to come on after all the games have gone final, so late night,
dedication
Friday
right there,
Night
guys.
Stars. We're going to be live from AT&T Stadium inside either a booth or on the field, as we'll have some interviews on the field. We're going to have live interviews from that Duncanville North Shore game. We're going to have interviews that we've had from previously in the day with the Longview game whenever they take on Longview. I'm blanking on who they're taking on.
Westbrook.
On Westbrook, and then Highland Park and Shadow Creek in that first game. And so we're going to have interviews. We're going to have highlights. We're going to have analysis tomorrow to wrap up the 2018 Texas high school football season. But we've got a lot to get to in terms of what has already happened at AT&T Stadium. But first, guys, what has been really the favorite part from not just Whataburger Friday Night Stars, the show, but just all of Texas high school football this season?
Wow, that's a loaded
It's a
question.
very big question.
I don't even know how to start to answer that one.
I mean, from week one, when I walked in here and saw your ugly mugs and thought to myself,
right.
what are we getting into? And then 17 weeks later,
Here we are.
It's a
we
very
are.
loving
Isn't that something?
co-host.
I
the rain
think that it
sticks
is.
out.
The rain, yeah.
The rain.
The rain and Hek'ma. You know, getting to work with Hek'ma has been pretty great.
I would. Thank you,
I think
Wolchuk.
Caden Davis really sticks out to me when I think back on this season.
Caden Davis?
A highlight and a legend.
Oh, he is a legend.
I think the Duncanville love, calling Duncanville week one. That's the one thing. You come into a new season, you think you know which teams are going to be good, but you don't know for sure. And to have Duncanville on, I think all of us had them on their radar. I picked them to win state week one. And to have them here in that state championship, especially after, I think last week, Allen versus Duncanville, a matchup our show specifically has been calling for since week 1, 2, 3, looking at how these teams were developing, realizing there's a collision course.
I got it, man. And no one would expect this from me. Chandler Morris.
All right.
Wow.
Chandler Morris, seeing his everything that he lived up to this year at Highland Park, man, he played lights out. This kid won me over, and y'all know how much I hated coming in to this season. But Chandler Morris won me over with every throw by throw. This kid is going to be absolutely wonderful at the next level, but he's a junior, so we got one more year of watching this kid develop. I'm so excited about it, but I'm telling you, he is the one guy that coming into this year, just knowing the history of Highland Park, winning state back-to-back, and knowing that all the pressure was on him, and he lived up to all the hype.
Yeah, he definitely did, and there's a reason why he's in a state championship looking for a three-peat tomorrow.
I agree.
The fact that he, along with that Highland Park team, had been able to replace guys like John Stephen Jones at the quarterback position and Cade Sawstad at the wide receiver position. But I think the fact that we've been a show for 112 days, this is day 112 of being Whataburger Friday Night Stars, and I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the surprise stories like Haltom, like South Oak Cliff, and some of those emergencies.
Birdville.
You could say Birdville. You could say teams like Duncanville as well. I mean, even though we kind of expected Duncanville to be there, I don't know if Duncanville was going to be that historic type team that we've seen, and they've got a chance to really finish some things off tomorrow night. But let's look at some of the smaller games, at least in terms of enrollment. We're nothing small about a state championship, but let's go to six-man. 1A is where we'll start things off. Division II, and this state championship game between Strom and Follett is how you say that. Follett just didn't have it in this ball game, 48-0. And guys, this game literally was over at halftime because in six-man, there's a 45-point mercy rule as soon as that halftime buzzer sounds.
Wow.
So the mercy rule does start off, and one of the big things, we were talking off air about this, and Strawn really was a team that kind of blew through their route to a championship. They won their semifinal game against Oakwood 51-6. They won their quarterfinal game 68-22 against Iredell. Then they also were able to take down Walnut Springs 62-8 and then 68-0 against Goldberg in round one. So Strawn was a strong team, not to be making a pun there, but look at the size from Follett and how they were able to kind of play the football game from a size perspective. You would think that maybe they could have something to say about this one, but really Strawn dominated from the get-go.
Yeah, and for Strawn, back-to-back state championships, really an excellent performance for them to be up 48-0 in halftime. And then all of a sudden the game is called in a state championship. You're expecting two evenly matched teams. They came out, no doubt about it, who was the better team on this day. And you see there, Villanueva.
Gosh, what a stud
He was cruising, baby.
He had 4 touchdowns.
He was cruising for Strawn. And I think it's awesome. For fans that, and I'm one of those as well, I'm not super familiar with the six-man game. We don't see a lot of six-man as we focus primarily
You used
on
to
the
be a real big
area.
six-man guy, Wolchuk. I don't know what happened to you.
I feel like I would have excelled at six-man football.
You would have been incredible. You play in
I
space.
just missed the time. Yeah, I'm so good in space. I've got the quick feet, good lateral movement, slide to slide.
Get this guy in a
Shifty.
phone booth. Watch what happens.
Woo, baby.
There's a joke in there somewhere. I'm
There's
just not
not
gonna
at all
go.
Hek'ma. It's the truth.
All right, six-man football.
But it's very fun to watch. It's very interesting for people that are used to just watching 11-man. And for Strawn, I don't think you could, out of all the teams this weekend, some of them have been very, very dominant. We'll get to Mart here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Maybe there wasn't a team any more dominant than Strawn when you're looking at a halftime. Hey, guys, let's just go ahead and wave the white flag.
And there's studs that play this. Wasn't Van Der Esch one of our very own Dallas football Cowboys?
Van Der Esch was a six-man
Van Der
player.
Esch, six-man player, so you can still flourish. 8-man
It was
player, I
8-man
guess.
football, yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris Beam knows. Well, look at you. You don't know what you're talking about.
I know. But guys like Villanueva could end up being stars, and you didn't even know it.
Absolutely.
Well, look, I'm just going to say this. When it comes down to six-man football, Wolchuk, like you said, I'm like everybody else. I've never tried to even attempt to learn six-man football. The one thing
Well,
that
you should.
Exactly.
It deserves its
I think we
its
could have been
time
awesome,
in the spotlight.
Hek'ma.
Well,
We'd
you
have
know
been one
what?
of the
Why don't
most
we just make
dominant
a segment called Teaching Hek'ma Six-Man?
Let's do it.
All right.
Well, we got some more six-man action.
Are we going to go ahead and go to that other? I
Do
kind
they,
of want
do
to
they
talk
play
about
with a real
Strawn a
football?
little bit.
Do they play
you
the
got-
six-man? Do you play with a real football?
That is just wad up a piece
Don't
of
be
paper.
disrespectful.
Well, Chris is moving on, so we're going
Yeah, because
over
this
to
kid might be. There's two players.
Oh, my gosh,
that have,
right?
that have taken the field, but I don't know if anybody's quite as good as the big 2-0 here.
Yeah, McLean and Milford. Milford in the white.
Jeez,
and
this guy's
McLean-
21 years
Dude,
old.
Ben Crockett
Look at that. Look at the size on this kid.
destroyed this.
My
kid.
God, look at his
we got
biceps.
Milford.
He caught a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown.
Wait a minute.
Who's
Threw
their
for a
go-to
touchdown.
guy? Is it Milford or is it
I
Crockett?
think it's Ben Crockett.
Okay.
Milford is a
Close
the team
second?
that they're playing.
Oh, gotcha.
So
I thought
no.
you were talking about their guy. They had a guy. I thought you said they had a guy named Milford,
No, that's the team that they played.
and they dominated.
They did dominate. 100 points up on the board.
Can they even fit that on the scoreboard?
No.
Is there not a skunk rule in what?
No, there is.
Oh,
but
it
it
was
was
a competitive game.
170.
Yeah.
Why did
Oh,
A little closer.
God.
Why didn't they stop? It was 100 to 70.
Yeah, they
You can
didn't
see
get
here
up by
it's 48
45
to
points.
one touchdown game in the third quarter.
Yeah, it really just that second half
this guy.
belonged to McLean. And what happened? Chris was talking about this, and of course, Chris is he works with the Dallas Cowboys, and what Chris was saying was
There's the touchdown for Ben.
yeah, another Ben Crockett touchdown, but
The field's shorter. That's why you're seeing that.
I mean, overall, yeah. Well, there's 80 yards in 6.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't know that.
Well,
It's like
are
40
saying,
yards
my-
wide.
They're turning around and it's a touchdown, but they're not in the end zone.
yeah,
Like Crockett?
Yeah, he
he's
had to
cr-
stretch out, but
he's
guess what?
Cramping. They scored 70 points. I mean, it's a track
A little
meet out
pickle
there.
juice.
He got back on the field.
Yeah, you did.
I'm gonna
was
just tell y'all guys,
absolutely
this is the worst tackling I've ever seen. In
Well, there's
any,
only 6 players out there, Hek'ma.
well,
I
I
was
mean,
gonna say, hey, we're
not
talking about
tackle.
6-man football. What are we talking about, Heck? I mean, goodness gracious.
Sorry.
That's a free play. It's an offsides.
So there is offsides in 6-man.
Yes,
I didn't
there
even
is.
know they had refs in 6-man.
All I'm saying,
Of course,
guys,
they have refs in 6.
is that all right? It's the such thing as missing a tackle, and then there's missing a tackle, and then it's.
I don't know what's going on, guys.
I think Heckman's just being so rude right now.
Heckma just doesn't know what's
Heckman and Eric
happening.
Are just joking about
Look, Ben Crockett is the man MVP, offensive player of the game.
He
He's
could have been defensive too.
He could have been anything he wanted to be in that game because nobody wanted to
unbelievable.
tackle Ben
Okay, so
Crockett.
they do MVPs in 6-man.
Yes, they do.
Okay,
And they
gotcha.
had 8. Crockett had 8 touchdowns en route to the 100-70 game. And Chris was
Oh
talking
my
about
God! They
on the
scored a-
scoreboard.
Is the point system the same in 6-man?
Yes. Or no, it's not actually. It's a little bit different.
Okay, see,
So the way the 6-man
Just
works,
come prepared.
you score a touchdown, it's 6 points.
Okay.
You kick an extra point, it's 2
6
points.
points.
Instead of the extra point is 2 points.
Gotcha.
And then if you score like what would normally be a 2-point conversion, it's only 1 point. So it's a little bit different because there's not normally any kicking, because in order to kick in 6-man football, you have 6 guys rushing on basically 3 blockers.
Oh,
or
wow.
4 blockers. So it's really hard to kick an extra point. So if you actually kick the extra point, it's 2 instead of 1. And then if you score the 2-point conversion, it's 1 instead of 2. It's basically
They scored 100 points in a football game.
Yes.
That is difficult to do.
even on an 80-yard field.
Do
you
they
don't
get
see
more
it every
time?
day.
Do they get more
No,
time?
it's the same time.
Dude, it doesn't matter if there's nobody out there. That's hard to do if you just blow the whistle.
That's big time.
Absolutely.
It scored touch for a whole game. That is next to impossible to do.
And the scoreboard didn't even have a third digit on the actual scoreboard.
Goes to 0?
It just went to 0-0 because they didn't have a 100 on the scoreboard. That's
Unprecedented
how wild.
territory here.
Exactly. That's how wild of a game that was at the 6-man level.
You tell people you lost
not-
100 to 70.
Basically, I would
It was a
say
football
70
game.
points, we lost by 30. Goodness gracious.
I would probably say scoring 100 points in 6-man is the equivalent of maybe scoring about 85 in regular 11-man football.
Jeez
Gotcha.
Louise.
That's probably what the equivalent would be. At least that's in my humble opinion. But moving on from 6-man, you look at what really McLean was able to do, and they were able to get the job done. But you mentioned Mart just a couple moments ago, Zach. Talk about a dominant team. Mart and the Panthers winning their semifinal matchup 40-13, taking on Groover. Groover, if you didn't know, Groover is all the way up at the top of the Texas Panhandle. Actually closer to Denver than it is to Arlington.
Wow.
So that's how far away Groover was. And in terms of, you see the fan turnout, the excitement, and Groover looked good early, but that was until Mart got that defense going and able to make some plays on that defensive side of the football. Mart looking for a back-to-back championship, and they're definitely loving it throughout AT&T Stadium. A regular there. They've won 7 titles after this one because they take this one over Groover 76-33, able to put up 63 points in the first half.
Yeah, and 76 is a new record. Yeah, they were able to a new 11-man state title game record. Previously, Stephenville and Cameron Yo had scored 70. Mart puts up 76 points, and it was really their senior running back, Tyreek Horn. 291 yards and 7 touchdowns, set a record for the most rushing yards and touchdowns in a 2A state championship game. And that man right there, Jacob Ibarra, was named Defensive Player of the Game. 2 interceptions on consecutive drives. He made a couple of really nice hits as well. And look, credit Groover. They didn't go away. They scored some points in the second half. Their quarterback, Keegan Kelp, solid day, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Jalen Conyers, who caught that last touchdown, 12 catches, 224 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But this day belonged to Mart. And when you look at it, 3 scores off their first 6 offensive plays. They were explosive. Wow. I think all year long. We got to see them play here at the Star a few weeks back. They're a dominant bunch, and they were dealing with a rather emotional story heading into this one. You know, their backup quarterback, who's a junior, Aiden Gass, collapsed during practice on Monday. They played this game on Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, Wednesday. So on Monday, he collapses on the field during practice. They don't know what's wrong with him. The coaching staff revives him on the field, are able to keep him in stable condition until the ambulances come. They take him away. It's still unknown. They think maybe he might have had a heart attack, but I haven't gotten confirmation on anything, so I don't want to be out here and
that's what I heard as
report fake news. But it was some kind of condition. He was able to be cleared to travel with the team to Arlington, so he was there on the sideline, was able to watch and celebrate that state championship game. But what a story for this team to go through such a scary moment in their final practice before leaving to go compete in a state championship, and to have the mental toughness to come out and put up and execute a performance like that against a good Groover team. Hats off to Mart. I mean, what a job those kids did to come together.
Yeah, absolutely an incredible. You look at the 6 stars as well on that Mart logo. They're going to have to add a 7th for their 7th title, the most in 2A. And so you look at the dominance and also just a small town community. That community of Mart has just around probably less than 1,400 people, and it's a little bit north of Waco, kind of northeast of Waco, over near Marlin in that area. Just a small town feel. Of course, you see that a lot with football. You could say the same thing on the other side with Groover as well, but Mart and the talent coming out of there, guys like Quan Cosby, who played for Texas.
Oh, yeah.
A Mart alum. You look at guys, Denarian Thomas, I know that's not a household name by any means, but he was on that UMHB crew team, which, by the way, just won a national title at the Division III level out of Belton. He was the quarterback, or one of the quarterbacks, on that ball club. So there's a lot of talent coming out of Mart, and not just Quan Cosby and Denarian Thomas, but over the course of really the last couple of years, that has been a dominant football team, and now they've got back-to-back championships. That
is something else, I mean, and to say also all the adversity that they had to go through and then come back and win a game 76-33. When you look at the talent level, anyone that gets to a state title, they've gone through something. So that means a lot as well, just to say how dominating that performance had to have been and how good they had to be as a team to overcome that, losing their starting quarterback.
Especially with such a quick turnaround. I mean, you go from Monday of having that issue.
That's big.
And then you turn around and you play on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So not a quick turn, or not an easy time to turn around, and especially playing with that in the back of your head. Yeah, that's definitely something you gotta
and
really
score 76 points.
63 of those.
500-some rushing.
That was a dominant football team, because I think if, of course, this wouldn't have happened, but that Mart team could have put up 100 points themselves.
Wow.
They really could.
Yeah,
that's how dominant they were in that
half.
first
They
half.
really did kind of pull the reins back a little bit. And I saw some people on Twitter that were talking about, why in the world does Mart still have their starters in the game and they're up this much? Well, folks, this is 2A football. Not everybody, Allen, has the depth and the players, especially when you get to the 2A levels and below. That's what they've got to work with. They're not doing that to run up the score. That's their roster.
That's it.
Yep.
Come on.
That's very true.
Don't come out here and rag on a school without backing up your facts, people.
And also, not to mention, those starters did earn their way to get there.
No doubt.
I mean, they earned that spot.
The Greyhounds, and that's the shame about the state championship. You see the joy that comes with the victory, and then the tears and the disappointment that comes with the defeat for Groover. I believe this was the deepest run in Greyhound history.
It is.
Really, really good football team. And for all these kids, all these schools that were able to make it to the state championship, great accomplishment, unbelievable season, but there can just be one team that leaves happy and victorious at the end of the day. But you should not leave with your heads hanging down. Be very proud of yourself and the efforts, not only for your coaches and the players, but the entire community, because a lot of these smaller schools, and you'll see it tomorrow with Longview, baby, they're hungry, but they bring the whole town.
Everybody
and they pack up into Jerry World. That's what makes this UIL State Championship weekend so special.
It does make it special. Also, record-breaking makes it special as well. And we talked about Tyreek Horn and what he was able to do for Mart.
Our boy Guy Frazier has been at AT&T Stadium, not for one, not for two, but for every single game of the UIL State Championships, and he got a chance to catch up with Mr. Horn after his record-breaking night.
Guy Frazier with Friday Night Stars. We just went final here at AT&T Stadium where Martin wins the 2A D2 State Championship tonight, 76-33 over Groover. Here was senior running back Tyreek Horn of Mart. Tyreek, just talk to me about your senior going out on top, back-to-back state championships. Talk about that feeling.
Yes, sir. You know, my first year, Coach Hoffman first got the job. We lost first round. Then my sophomore year, we lost third round. Then my junior year, we won state. And, I mean, who knows that we went back to back and we pulled it off today.
Tyreek, you set the 2A state game record for yards in the game, rushing, and touchdowns in the game. Talk about that in your performance tonight.
Yes, sir. I got to give all the credit to the lineman. I really want to give this plaque to the lineman right here because I don't think I deserve it because I couldn't do it without them.
Right. All right, so last question I got for you. What's so special about Mart's program? Y'all are here, it seems like often. I watched y'all beat Refugio last year in 2A D1. What's the magic behind Mart?
Yes, sir. It just, we grind. We come out the womb playing football down there, so,
Tyreek, congratulations on the win. Safe travels back to Mart, and go celebrate with your boys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Quote, we come out the womb playing football.
What a great line.
That's awesome. And I love the fact
T-shirt.
That's
we
it.
come out the womb playing football, and he gives that credit to the offensive
That's
line.
it.
That was awesome.
Hek'ma, I got to say, you dubbed Ashley Pickle the hardest working woman in high school football.
Guy Frazier.
I think we got to give some love to Guy Frazier.
Oh, absolutely.
Starting with six-man, he's been at AT&T Stadium and even, all these games at the Star every single weekend, but he has not missed a game. From Wednesday all the way through tomorrow's games, he will have covered every single state championship for Friday Night Stars. Guy Frazier, my man, we couldn't do this if it weren't for you, bro.
And there's nobody better than Guy, man. If you want to get into a football conversation, start one with Guy Frazier.
Especially about Texas football.
Exactly.
He loves himself some Longhorns.
He gonna talk Longhorn football.
Yeah, you talk about how he's been there for every high school football championship game this weekend. How about what he's done all season? The game that's going on right now between Aledo and Fort Bend Marshall,
Otherwise known as the Jace McClellan Show. As is every Aledo
we'll
football
talk
game.
about that here in just a little
enough.
bit. We'll really talk about that. But game number 53 of the season for Guy Frazier.
Wild, man. He
Game
loves
number
it.
That is
53. He is a high school football
The hardest working guy.
Here's our live look inside AT&T Stadium just before the half, and you see the score at the bottom of our screen, 28-12. Fort Bend Marshall was in this game earlier. It was actually just 7-6, but Jace McClellan already putting on a show. You see Fort Bend Marshall trying to strike back here and make it a one-score game going into the halftime break, but they would have to get a two-point conversion as well in order to do so. But Aledo's just kind of put him on him again, and oh, wait, I guess that was fourth down, so never mind. No more two.
Yeah, maybe Jace
game.
McClellan can get his fifth touchdown of the half.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man.
I've got 3 right here.
He's got one receiving.
Oh, he does.
3 rushing. He's
Oh,
got
my
over 100
gosh.
yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns, and
Oh,
one
you're right.
receiving
What's
touchdown.
Hornsby?
That's unbelievable.
McClellan is
Hornsby's struggling. He's 3 of 7.
Gosh.
he's
Unreal.
just 3 of 7. He's struggling.
What about a chain runner?
10 carries, 83 yards. He's having a good one.
Yeah, I don't think this is a game that's going to be decided, at least, going into halftime. I think Fort Bend Marshall's a team you got to look at going into that third quarter as a potential to try and knock Aledo off.
Hey, guys, I was going to say, even if you have a kid that's playing in the game or not, if you just love football, high school football in Jerry World is amazing. He's putting on quite a production, and the talent level of the kids that are playing is amazing. Like tonight's game with, pretty much the night line of Aledo, and man, this is going to end up being a game, like you said, it's not going to be decided at halftime.
By no means.
But tomorrow's lineup, oh my! I mean, if you got nothing to do, you got to come to Jerry.
Oh yeah,
just sit there
talk.
all day.
Trust me, we'll talk plenty about those games coming up here in just a little bit. Before we take a break, though, let's go to Mason and New Deal. This is another game that we kind of looked at as a team that's been dominant throughout their run to a state championship. Well, Mason was one you had circled, but at the same time, you look at what New Deal was able to do against San Saba, 35-6 in the semifinals. But Mason took down San Augustine 52-8 in order to get to Jerry World, and Mason wearing the white unis. Oh man, after this was a 7-6 ball game, Mason absolutely took over and they put up a total of 37 unanswered after New Deal ended up winning, and that was even with a couple extra issues in terms of the punt going over the top of the long snap going over the top of the punter's head. Overall, just was an unbelievable game for the Mason side.
Yeah, and how about their head coach, Cade Burns? He gets his 100th win as the head coach here.
Congrats, coach.
Of New Deal, and it happens to be for a state championship. So that's pretty tremendous there.
It was the Klarner and Cockerham show, though, for Mason. Those guys, over 100 yards on the ground each. They ran the ball for almost 300 yards, absolute dominant performance. And like you said, 37 unanswered. These guys were getting after it. And the New Deal was able to throw the ball, but they couldn't run it at all. And by the time they were able to start throwing it, it was too far out of hand. I mean, Mason just ran all over them.
One of the big things I know, Eric, you, Zach, and Hek'ma, I guess, of all four of us have had a connection with North Texas, and Newton running it up on a team that on the front of the New Deal jerseys literally says Mean Green kind of made me a little sad. But nonetheless, Mason, what they were able to do was just absolutely impressive from the get-go. And I talked about how it was a close game early on, and the fact that they were able to put up the points later just showed the absolute dominance from this football game as a whole. And congratulations to Mason getting the job done, a big-time win at the 2A Division I level. This game was played yesterday morning, or it started yesterday morning.
Offensive MVP, Jake Cockerham.
There you go.
Defensive, Sloan Stoltz. So congrats, gentlemen, MVPs of the game.
Gotta love it. And Mason, I don't know what it is about the purple and the white. Those are
You don't like it?
clean
Oh, you do
uniforms.
like it?
Oh, I love it.
And Coach Byrne, obviously the head coach of Mason, not New Deal.
Correct. Yes. We knew what you were saying.
They shut down New Deal.
Oh, they absolutely did. 172 total yards and 2 turnovers forced.
Their defense was great. Their defensive line was awesome. They got a lot of penetration in the backfield. I mean, New Deal, which came into the game, I think, very high-powered offense. Both these teams were. I thought it was going to be very high scoring. One team held up their end of the bargain. New Deal, they just couldn't get it going at all.
No, you look at the first down total as well for both teams. Usually that doesn't tell a huge story, but it definitely tells a story here because Mason doesn't throw the football a whole lot. That's more of a run-heavy team, as you can see from the 159 passing yards. But you look at the methodical drives that they were able to put up at AT&T Stadium at the bottom of the graphic. But it was 21-9 in terms of first downs against each other. You see the drives they were able to actually put together.
Yeah, and Cockerham, 10 yards per carry. Wow.
That's
down every time he touches the ball.
That's incredible.
That's a dominant performance.
Usually that'll put some points up on the board.
Yeah.
If you're able to put up 10 yards per carry.
Getting it in bunches, 276 yards. I mean, they're setting up everything with their running and passing off of that. So it's a dominant 44-6. New Deal never got the ball.
No.
That was what it was.
Yeah, didn't even get a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the best strategy of football. I mean, you could close your eyes and ask what who had the ball, who had the most yardage. They didn't turn the ball over. Typically, you win. It's just the formula of football, guys.
It absolutely is. Let's take a quick break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We've gone through 6-man, 1A, and we've also got 2A taken care of. When we come back, we'll talk about 3A Division 2, talk about 3A Division 1. We'll talk about a little bit of 4A.
What? Are we making our way up the ladder?
And then we're going to talk.
John Richards?
And then we're going to keep giving you updates from AT&T Stadium as we get into the second half between Aledo and Fort Bend Marshall. And then we'll also preview the rest of tomorrow's monumental,
Got the big dogs?
stoked.
monumental matchups. We're Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We'll be back here in a moment.
Today at Whataburger, we're cooking the sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
Small ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
You want to bring the heat? Prove it. With carbs to help fuel muscles. And electrolytes to help replace what you lose in sweat. Studied, tested, proven. Nothing beats Gatorade.
On a Forbidden Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Ramon, we can't.
But Julia,
We're rivals.
I can love you and still hate your overrated school.
We have two different defensive philosophies. You're a base 4-3 cover 2, and I'm an
aggressive 3-4 with press coverage. I get it, but we both love Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Ramon.
Touchdown, State!
Yes! In your face!
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Hey football fans, check this out. It's called Fan Tag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. Fan Tag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the Fan Tag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try Fan Tag today. It's free.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Whataburger Friday Night Stars back here from the Star in Frisco. Dallas Cowboys locker room just down the way as they get set for a big-time matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Go win the NFC East, boys.
Ooh, big time. You go from Texas high school football Wednesday through Saturday and then into a big-time matchup with, like you said, NFC East
busy
implications
week at AT&T Stadium.
It is definitely a busy week of football.
One of my friends that works with, he's a former North Texas grad as well, Justin Brummett. No, Justin Brummett. He was talking about he had 17 games in 5 days.
Wild.
Absolutely wild.
Busy time. I bet it's relieving when that's over with.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Oh,
you get to see your family for the first time. It's almost like emerging from like the woods in like a long camping trip.
Yeah. Oh, the sun exists.
Oh yeah, what?
Oh, fresh air.
Life outside of AT&T Stadium. What's going on? Yeah, it's been a fun week of football. Now, I looked over this on that last break, and I'm gonna take the blame on this one, but We actually had an interview with one of the stars from Mason High School and what he was able to do in that final championship game. I knew there was something that was missing, and this was what was missing. Guy Frazier, we were talking about him earlier, one of our great reporters who's been on the scene. He got a chance to catch up with Cockerham, who was really the star of the night
MVP
for Mason and an MVP. Let's take a look.
All right, Guy Frazier with Friday Night Stars. We just went final here at AT&T Stadium where Mason defeats New Deal today in the 2A D1 state championship, 44-6. Here with Mason's senior running back, Jake Cockerham. Jake, talk about what it's like to be state champion, get win 100 for Coach Burns.
It's unbelievable. It was a team effort. I mean, we love each other like family. One of the jokes around is we call him Daddy Burns, but we never say it to his face. But he's basically our dad, so it's awesome that we could do this for him and each other. It's just a brotherhood.
Clay, I walked into this game expecting y'all to be in the wing tee a lot today, but y'all are really balanced. Y'all were in shotgun, got in the wing tee, too. And, you had a drive where you're just pounding it down their throat, and then the very next drive, y'all are opening up through the air. Talk about y'all's offense today. Is that something y'all have done all year? Is that something y'all found success today in?
Mason's known for a ground and pound offense, so people really haven't expected us to throw the ball, but we've actually done it quite well all season long. Just gone under the radar because we haven't been to throw the ball as much just because we've been ahead by so much in so many games. But I credit that to Coach Burns and our quarterback. I mean, our quarterback's a great player. He's been one of my best friends for my whole life. And Coach Burns really saw that in him, and he went and changed the playbook up for him. But most people don't realize it.
First half, Clay was pounded on the ground. Second half, you kind of took over and had some really long touchdown runs. Talk about your game in the second half and how that contributed to the final result.
I mean, part of our game plan was just making sure it's basically a rotation. We just take turns, giving one guy a breather, one after another. I mean, the long runs come from everybody, honestly. Just whenever it happens, whoever gets the ball. There's no real set centerpiece to our offense. It's just we're all playing for each other, and one guy makes one big block, and you may have a big run. And the next play, you want to go make a big block for him so he can have a long run, just feed off of each other.
Jay, congrats on being a state champion. Safe travels back to Mason, and good luck down the road.
Thank you.
Mason 44, New Deal 6, and I love that they called him Daddy Burns.
Daddy Burns.
Yeah.
So now we've got
Daddy
Mart.
Burns.
Their T-shirts came out of the womb playing football, and then now you look at Mason. And they're
Burns.
Yep,
Daddy
Daddy Burns, baby. It's been a good week for purple teams, really, hasn't it? Because Mart gets a championship, Mason gets a championship. How about the purple and 3A Division 2? Is Newton? They're wearing the purple against Canadian. And this was really the best game that we've seen all season long. You look at Newton in the white and purple as well. Canadian, a team that came from really a very impressive win, 17-7 over Gunter. This is a game that a lot of people expected to be a defensive struggle. Well, that was not necessarily the case because the running backs took over, boys.
They did. And how about this for Newton? They've now won back-to-back state championships and 30-0 the last 2 years.
Wow.
So the longest win streak, I think, right now is Highland Park at 31, if I'm not mistaken. But right there is this Newton Eagle football team that is making some noise right now. And to hold off Canadian, a team that really the last couple of weeks we've been looking at that bracket, and you've seen them just, all right, Newton Canadian, here it comes. Really, really was a close football game. And that defense for Newton stepping up when it mattered most. And you know what? I think all weekend long, this was a physical game. We saw earlier today with Waco La Vega taking the field. Waco La Vega, a very physical program. We'll talk to them soon. But these two teams, man, they didn't like each other, and they let it be known. I mean, this was a knockout, drag out. They're going to some ice tubs after this one, both squads.
Yeah, Newton, one of the things that I noticed immediately about Newton was their swagger. They came into that matchup with all the bravado. And you know what? The way that they had the abs showing, got the 4 and 5 wristbands, boy, they were ready. I really love the way they came onto the field.
They came out there with the Zeke look, with the jersey up.
Man, I'm telling you, those boys were ready to go. I loved them.
Yeah, you got to love the swagger. You got to love the way that they took the field and really this was a battle from beginning to end. This was not a game where either team was out of it up until that final interception to seal the deal.
Canadian was tough.
Oh, definitely so. And Canadian really did have a chance to win that football game late up until that interception inside the red zone. And then that's one of the biggest stories that we've talked about, or we haven't talked about yet, but has been talked about in all of football. Of course, Fox Sports Southwest had a great interview yesterday with the Newton head coach, and a 21-16 win, back-to-back championships now for Newton. But that still really kind of pales in comparison to what has gone on in terms of that coaching staff and that community of Newton.
Yeah, Bill Jones tweeted out yesterday, that's when I saw it, that interview that aired on Fox, and very moving just to know that the coach was basically letting his guys know that from the beginning of the season, they didn't think he was going to make it. They thought that he would, at some point he was going to pass away. And for him to make it all the way to the state championship, guys, I want to say there's a lot of times when, in school and government and all this stuff, we want to take religion out of the equation. But this story right here, man, it is a God thing. When you're able to do that, and the lesson that he teaches his kids and the heart that he spoke with about that being the last lesson for them, overcoming adversity and not having anything to come in his way, in their way, and not making it about him and what he was going through, and wanting it to be about them and their moment. And they exercised that, man. I was so excited about that. And it just made me fall in love with the program even more after listening to the coach.
No doubt. And Coach Johnson, and this is something we've talked about. We've had Coach Todd and several other coaches on, and we're always looking at kind of the mentality and looking at certain coaches go week to week. This is we got to focus on this next game. Well, this Newton team led by Coach Johnston, he's a guy that he doesn't know how much time he's got left, and he's looking at this, and this team knew we're not about winning a district championship, and he said that in his post-game comments.
Right.
We came in wanting to win a state championship, and they went through the gauntlet, went through the grind of 2A Texas high school football, and they came out the other side champs, man. Unbelievable story.
It really puts it in perspective from Coach W.T. Johnston, like we were talking about. It puts it in perspective that sports at some points, it's smaller than all the other things that go on in life, but at the same time, it's that big. I mean, the fact that Coach Johnston looked at this team and looked at this program and said, hey, this is something to push for. This is something that I care about more than anything, and I really want to be able to be there for this. I want to be there for this team. I want to be there for this perseverance and teach lessons and affect others while I'm still here on this earth. And I think that's an absolutely incredible thing. I agree with you, Hek'ma. I think it's a God thing. And I know it's tough to kind of look back and forth, and there's always religion in sports and then also with the media, and it's kind of frowned upon sometimes. But he said it himself, and I think that's something that you look at, and it's definitely something that deserves to be talked about, and I do credit Fox Sports Southwest. That's an unbelievable interview. If you haven't checked it out, you can go on their Twitter, and it is Fox Sports SW on Twitter, and you can find that video. It was tweeted out yesterday around 6:30 in the afternoon. But a big-time win for Newton, 21-16 was that final score over Canadian. Let's go to 3A Division I. This was a bit of a football game up until the fourth quarter, because Malakoff, who played here at the Star last week, at a big win over Brock, where they took them down 23-21 with a last-minute touchdown. You see them in the black and the gold. They took on Grandview, and quite possibly some of the coolest helmets and the coolest intro in all of high school football. The Zebras of Grandview. You can see it on the helmets. They run through a gigantic zebra head just for fun, and that is exactly what they did in order to win this football game. It was 21-7. Malakoff looked to kind of dominate this one early. Well, that wasn't the case later in this football game, because Grandview puts up a ton of unanswered points, actually 21 to be exact, to win it 35-21, the final score, in order to win another state championship. Actually, the first state championship for Grandview, might I add.
And the first state championship for a team called the Zebras.
Yeah.
Are they the only ones called the Zebras?
They're not the only ones, but they're the first to win a state championship.
And it's the first time a Zebra's gotten a victory over a Tiger in the history of the world. So that's incredible.
I like that a lot, actually. Dane Jinsich ended up with 98 yards on the ground rushing. He also went 15 of 26 passing with 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was the offensive and defensive MVP as he actually
that is balling.
Yeah, he was balling.
That is balling.
You want to talk about balling, though? How about the fact that the offensive and defensive MVP was also the punter? That's him right there, number 7.
The punter?
He was also the punter. He had 7 punts for 241 yards. That's over 35 yards on average, and he had a long of 47 yards punting. So not only was he the offensive and defensive MVP, how about a little bit of special teams mixed in between there as well? So an all-around win for the 3A Division I state championship. You see him there. Actually, he was number 3, rather, other than number 7. But Jinsich with the MVP, Grandview with the 35-21 win over Malakoff. Good season for Malakoff and the Tigers, but once again, Zebras get a win over the Tigers for the first time in the history of all of mankind.
Well, it happened earlier this season, actually, 28-7. This was a rematch game. They played once before.
Yeah, you weren't
for
right.
Twice,
Dang it.
For twice in the history of ever, a Zebra's gotten a victory over a Tiger.
Still a huge one. This one
It sounds cooler whenever you say it the first time, but that was not the case. And just to see the resiliency, this is a Malakoff team last week that was down early against Brock and came back and won against Brock here at the Star just before our show, actually, last Friday. And then now it happens to them because Grandview was down 21-7. They put up 21 points in that second quarter. Then they also put up 14 points in the fourth quarter in order to get the win. And so a big-time win with Grandview and Malakoff in order to you look at Grandview and the Zebras, now their first ever title. They've got a lot of young guys returning as well. So we'll see what Grandview can do next year. That's a team that took down number 1 Franklin on their way to a state championship and took down teams like Youmans, who we were really high on.
Country strong.
Look out for Grandview. Very balanced team.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
They play good football, man.
Yeah, they do. And you see that exactly.
Sure do, man.
They're pretty good, man.
How about let's go to 4A Division II before we do any more weird voices?
They always get me in trouble. It's not me. It's them, Kyle.
I know. It's the best, man. Is that what it is? It's the best.
That was.
Come on, Kyle. Come on, keep us going.
Okay, this is one of the best games that we've talked about. How about Cuero and Pleasant Grove? Pleasant Grove looking for their second straight championship. And, Zach, I know you kept an eye on this game all day long.
Guys, you know what? I think that this game really, you can start and stop with that man right there. Jordan Whittington, the 5-star recruit, going to the University of Texas. This man is an all-around do-it-all. Did not come off the football field. Had 11 tackles on defense, en route to winning the defensive player of the game. And you're about to see an offensive statistic explosion for Mr. Whittington here in just a moment. He came in leading the team in just about every offensive category. He had 337 total yards, 6 total touchdowns in their victory today over Pleasant Grove. 334 of those yards were rushing, which is a new state record in any classification.
Wow.
3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, surpassing Eric Dickerson and Jonathan Gray.
Wow.
That's good company.
That is tremendous.
One
company.
better than
You
the
see
other,
right
but
here
holy
in the second half of this game, Jordan Whittington took over as the Wildcat quarterback. He came in, he was unstoppable. He had a catch right before the half that was a touchdown, extending, and it was overturned. He comes back the next play. There's 1 second left on the clock, catches another one. It's seemingly going to go out of bounds at the 2-yard line and has to extend inside the pylon. Absolutely unbelievable play for Jordan Whittington today to lead the Cuero Gobblers to their first state title
Gobblers
since 2004. Game-winning interception right there by DeAndre Lang with just over a minute to go. Their defense really stepped up in that second half to hold Pleasant Grove, who was looking to win back-to-back state championships, to just 7 points in that second half. Unbelievable job by Cuero. Another one of those programs that is among the state's elite. But today belongs to Jordan Whittington, one of the greatest state championship performance at any level that we've ever seen.
Yeah, ever. He's Mr. Everything. And let me tell you, University of Texas, you got one.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he's an early enrollee. He graduated early from Cuero, so he'll be there for spring ball.
Yeah,
and
they got one.
Austin.
I mean, he's a gamer. Both ends of the kid was everything for Cuero.
He was unreal.
Sheesh.
That's going to be a lot of fun to see in the burnt orange and the white. If you look down in Austin a couple
UT
of
didn't
years
do bad.
Now,
UT didn't do that bad with signings either. So
no, they got a little bit of ways to go, but they're in the top 10.
Aren't they? They were pretty solid. Yeah. Oklahoma, though, just cleaning up in the DFW area.
DFW especially.
Just
how do they do?
Up.
How does Oakland? I got to find out. Somebody's got to tell me. I think
Texas pays a little bit more attention to Houston and San Antonio. I think they need to start looking at DFW a little bit more because Oklahoma, the Sooners are about to have some kids come up that pipeline. Trajan Bridges, Theo Weiss, Jace McClellan, who's about to have 20 touchdowns.
They do some cool stuff with their signees. They do the record player.
I saw that. That was really cool.
That? Gosh, that was cool. I saw Theo Weiss.
While we're talking about some National Signing Day,
Drew Sanders, how can we forget him?
Oh, yeah, Drew Sanders. He'll be there in 2 years. But
Polar Bear.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to.
I heard Drew Sanders was a freshman again.
No, he's not. Okay. No, he's a junior. Don't worry, buddy.
This guy's awesome, man. Get him out of here.
He's 26 years in old. High school. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. One of the cool things I saw video-wise, and it's because I'm living down in Waco, but Baylor did a really cool video. They would walk into like the locker room and they'd look in the mirror, and then they would be in like street clothes, and the video production would kind of like give a little bit of a glitch, and then it would be them in their uniform.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty cool.
Like that.
And there were some guys that would do something cool, like one guy like put his hands up above and like went like this, and as he went down, it switched. I thought it was cool.
Oh,
yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Definitely check it out.
Cuero has a guy that's going to University of Texas, Jordan. You balled out, brother.
I wonder what his recruitment video looked like on Tuesday.
Nothing but him running by people.
Just touchdowns.
Probably so. Let's go to, how about a couple more touchdowns? 4A Division I. We talked about La Vega really all year long because they took on Decatur, because they took on Argyle a couple of times, because they've really worked their way.
Boy, I believe in La Vega.
Oh, look at them.
La Vega got so much attitude.
Oh, man, that's a big physical team.
I love it. La Vega has beaten everybody down, and they have mowed them down. They ain't just beat them. They mowed them down. They did the same thing with Argyle, and it doesn't surprise me that they did this in the state championship.
Eric, I know you were keeping an eye on this ball game. Pirates win this one, and they win it big, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was at half, it was 7-7. It was a tight ball game. Everybody's feeling good. And then opening kickoff of the second half, La Vega takes it to the house, and they had a 21-point third quarter. Here it is right here. There's the second half kickoff, takes it to the crib. This dude's got some
that's
speed.
not an easy return either.
And the thing about La Vega is they've been such a physical running team all year, especially with John Richards. Well, he only had 85 yards on the ground today. It was actually my boy Malachi Wright, 3 catches, 163 yards. There he is right there, 2 touchdowns. They did it through the air. It was just big plays. In the third quarter, it was 2 big passing touchdown plays and the kickoff return for a touchdown. You see a turnover there. Look at Big 35. What a stud. Look, another passing play that goes
Malachi Wright
to the house. That's the guy. That's the MVP, and he certainly was the MVP for the offense, and Jared Rogers MVP of the defense. Waco La Vega getting it done through the air when they've been a ground and pound team all season, and they just run away with it in the end.
Yeah, Liberty Hill came into that game saying, you are not going to run the ball against us. So La Vega had to find another gear to shift into, and they found it.
And those are two teams that used to play in the same district. They knew each other very well. So Liberty Hill knew. This is what Waco.
That's my guy, boy. That's my
this is what they want to do.
Boy,
look at Jordan.
Woo,
oh, my
that's
goodness.
a big old kid.
Thunder ties over there.
God almighty.
But La Vega just thumps people, man. They line up, and we've talked all year. They want to be the biggest, baddest in the line of scrimmage,
right.
in the trenches, offensive and defensive line, and they hit people on defense, and they really just wore down Liberty Hill as this game went on.
One of the big things looking at the box score, and this is straight off of the UIL website, but La Vega, in terms of statistics, didn't necessarily look like they dominated this football game as much as they really did, because Liberty Hill put up 25 first downs compared to La Vega's 10. They put up 342 yards total compared to 335 for La Vega. So it was a pretty even contest. You'll get to see this here in a second. And then look at the rushing attack for Liberty Hill compared to La Vega, and then the passing yards was in favor of the Pirates. But overall, you look at this and you think that, hey, Liberty Hill probably has a chance to win this game, or at least they should have been closer than 35-21. But credit to La Vega. They made the plays when they needed to. Eric, you mentioned the kick return to start the second half.
Yeah, it was that third quarter that did it for
Huge.
Vega.
Just the big plays.
The big plays.
90-yard touchdown pass, 60-yard touchdown pass.
And that's the only thing that happens in football. You see teams, they dominate through the running game, but they don't score points. It doesn't add up. La Vega, what they did, even though they knew their running game was being taken away, the big play ability, Malik Wright, they didn't take it away, and he ran away with it.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And, man, La Vega, second state title in 3 years now, and they also do it by taking down Argyle. And those two teams are trading championships back and forth. We're going to take a quick break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We've gone through 3A and below. It's time to get to the 4A and above. How about a game that's live right now? Aledo, Fort Bend, Marshall, AT&T Stadium. We're going to look live into AT&T Stadium. Before we go to break, look who's on offense. Mr. Jace McClellan right to the right-hand side of that QB, back in the shotgun, on to enemy territory. Aledo.
Mr. Jake Bishop.
Ooh, good throw.
Oh, to JoJo Earl.
Quite the combo.
That's a tandem that'll be back, folks, next year.
We'll check back into this game here in a moment. We'll be back here on Whataburger.
Nothing works up my thirst for an ice-cold Pepsi Cola like getting buckets. Whether I'm breaking ankles or breaking hearts.
Hey, Drew.
It always brings the refreshment, and I've been drinking it a long time.
Drew, how old are you anyway, man? Doesn't matter.
Uncle Drew, in theaters, June 29th. The future tastes good.
Hey football fans, check this out. It's called FanTag, the easiest way to get video highlights from all of your games. As a parent, I know the value of capturing our kids' special moments on video. FanTag makes it easy to relive a memory or share it with family, friends, and recruiters. Download the FanTag app, and on game day, find your event and get instant highlights delivered right to your phone. So never miss a moment. Try FanTag today. It's free.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Little ideas can turn into big dreams. Big dreams require careful planning and the right partner. A partner dedicated to helping you take care of your employees, protect your business, and plan for the future. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's often exciting. It's your story, and we can help. SWBC.
Today at Whataburger, we're cooking the sweet and spicy bacon burger.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is my all-time favorite.
I love this burger. It's just perfect.
2 beef patties, 2 different types of cheese, caramelized onions. My favorite thing about this burger is the sweet and spicy pepper sauce and the bacon. You get it in every bite.
Nothing beats this.
The sweet and spicy bacon burger is an all-time favorite at Whataburger.
That's happiness.
You want to bring the heat? Prove it. With carbs to help fuel muscles. And electrolytes to help replace what you lose in sweat. Studied, tested, proven. Nothing beats Gatorade.
On a forbidden Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Ramon, we can't.
But Julia,
We're rivals.
I can love you and still hate your overrated school.
We have 2 different defensive philosophies. You're a base 4-3 cover 2, and I'm an
aggressive 3-4 with press coverage. I get it, but we both love Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Ramon.
Touchdown, State!
Yes! Into your face!
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Longview Lobos, Matthew McConaughey coming at you from the streets of London, class of 1988, Longview, Texas, Longview Lobos. Yes, sir. How we doing? We got a little football game this weekend, don't you? State championship. Big time. Biggest game of your life so far, I'll bet you. Listen, I know y'all got a lot to be excited about, a lot you want to unleash. But before you go out there, lay the blood on the line. I want you to make sure you take some time to get your mind right and your soul's right. What I'm talking about is bend that knee. Take a minute. Look inside. Think about your families. Think about why you love the game of football. Think about all the practices. How many times you're like, damn, it's hot. Damn, I'm ready to go inside. Damn, this is enough. Think about all that, everything you put in to get to this point. Look to the guy to your right. Look to the guy to your left. Look to the guy across the locker room from you. Look at your coaches, all of you. What you've done together to get to this point. Man, so many people are so proud of you. So proud of you. Feel that. Know that. Know that. And after you get your mind right and your soul right, your feet are planted on the ground, think you're ready to unleash. It's come game time. That first kickoff, that first whistle. Make them wonder what the hell just hit them the whole game. Do the little things. Receivers block downfield. Everybody, every play, what can you do to execute and give your team the best chance of succeeding one play at a time? You do that, you got the best chance of winning that game, and you know all this. Go have a ball. Enjoy this time. It'll never be here again. Enjoy this. Be in the moment. Go win it. We love you.
If that doesn't get you fired up,
we are the Lobos,
I
baby.
don't know what will.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
Gosh,
Let's go. Longview, Westbrook. That game tomorrow starting at, I believe it's 3 p.m. kickoff.
Whoa.
3:30
yeah.
kickoff, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Whoa.
We've got a quick update, though. Over at AT&T Stadium, if we can look at the AT&T Stadium live feed right now. Oh, it just went off the screen. Aledo leading 35-12. And this is the game that we're talking about at this moment. So we'll lead into this. Aledo's trying to knock on the door and score again. However, Chase McClellan just went off the field.
Yeah, he gimped off. He's had a busy day.
He has had a busy day.
He had a gimp?
Yeah, a little bit of a limp. Limped off the field.
Would you describe it more of a limp or a gimp?
I'd say a bit of a gimp limp.
Okay. It's unfortunate.
Hey, Jake Bishop extending the play.
Best-
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Wow, what a play from Bishop.
Wow.
Live.
How about that? And Aledo is doing what the Bearcats do, and that's just win state
That's
championships.
just score touchdowns and win football
Holy
games.
cow. Well, you know,
Wow,
Chase McClellan.
That's an unbelievable play, guys.
That is a highlight reel play for Mr. Jake Bishop there.
What a ball.
Who has 54 yards rushing.
Jake Bishop basically just escaped through the high five, came right back up Stemmons and threw it down 190.
He said, wait, our best player's hurt? I got
this, guys.
Don't worry.
What a play!
I'll toss my second touchdown pass.
We're really kind of understating what he just did right there. The escape through the back door and then the pass back across his body. Come on,
unbelievable!
That's clutch.
That was unreal.
Well, let's look at this game in a little bit in depth before we go to Highland Park. And we've got Eric Cunningham on the phone. We'll talk to him in just a moment. But Aledo overall, Jace McClellan, you talked about it, 4 touchdowns already, 3 on the ground, 1 receiving, 147 yards rushing. And that's just in the first half and a little bit into this third quarter. So Aledo now leading 41. I guess they're waiting on that extra point as they had a penalty called. So it's still 41-12, trying to make it 42-12 the score. But Fort Bend trying to make this a game early, and then 14 points in both the first and second quarters for Aledo. And like you said, Zach, that's all they do. That's what the Bearcats do. They win championships.
Yeah, I mean, this would tie them with, I believe it's Salina, Katy, and South Lake Carroll with the most state championships won by any program. And Aledo, they just get it done. I mean, every year. And when you look at their top 3 on offense, they've got a great defensive line. They've got a great offensive line. They got players that are going. They've got D1 talent on the defensive side of the football. But you look at Jake Bishop, a junior at quarterback, the play that he just made. Jace McClellan, a junior running back, the Oklahoma commit, one of the best players in DFW. And then JoJo Earl, number 1 at receiver, who's just a sophomore. This is a team that's going to go right back. They're looking like they're about to win their 7th state title in the last 10 years. An unbelievable run for this Aledo Bearcat program. I mean, what else can you say, man?
Also, not to mention they've earned it as well.
Yes. Coach Stephen Wood is an icon. He is a walking legend in what he's doing in Aledo. You named off some of those schools that all of the schools that you named were all dynasties. Multiple state championships, and the pride that they have, it just goes before them. Aledo is just a storied football program, and everyone that's in that Division II 5A, they just got to know, no matter what you do, the bump in the road is really big, and it is named Aledo.
Yeah, it's really big, and it's more like a wall in the road. And I mentioned this a second ago, but they've really earned it on their way to a state championship. They've beaten teams like Lovejoy. That was probably the easiest of the road before this Fort Bend Marshall team, because then you had South Oak Cliff one week. They beat them 28-14. Then they ended up beating a Frisco Reedy team that was undefeated and looked like world beaters.
Closest game they played all year.
Absolutely.
10-point victory.
26-16. And then they just absolutely dismantled Wichita Falls Rider in the semifinals. And now you look and see what they're doing. Now officially 42-12 after they kicked that extra point.
The last 3 years, they've lost 1 game. It was last year in the state championship game, a 1-point defeat to College Station, 20-19. Unreal. Wow. And this is a good Fort Bend Marshall team they're playing. They've played a lot of close games, but they beat Corpus Christi Cal Allen last week. And their quarterback, Malik Hornsby, a junior, he's the number 2 rated dual threat quarterback in the nation for the class of 2020. So there's some firepower on the opposite side of the football. Aledo just makes it look easy.
Absolutely. 20-yard touchdown pass to Devin Daughtry was the receiver that reeled it in for Aledo. Let's look at this game starting tomorrow, our first preview here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Once again, glad you're with us, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Vimeo. And our final Friday show will be here tomorrow night. After all the games conclude, we'll bring you our wrap-up show. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hek'ma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiofalo, and myself, Kyle Youmans, with you here from the Star in Frisco. Talking about Highland Park, this is a team that we've gotten a chance now to see really up close over the last couple of weeks. They take on Shadow Creek, and you could not face 2 separate programs, at least historically, because Highland Park, 830-plus wins, the winningest program in Texas high school football history, looking for a three-peat in state championships. Then on the other side, you've got Alvin Shadow Creek, a team that is in their first year of varsity competition. 15 wins is all they have in program history because they've literally never lost
Yeah, I was about to say 0 losses
in program history, and they're trying to do something that no team has done since 1982. What a game this is going to be, because there's a lot you really can't expect from these 2 squads.
Yeah, and for Highland Park, you talk about that history. This would be the first season that they've ever gone 16-0 if they were to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also, the first they'd win their 6th state championship if they can get the W. It'd be a three-peat. They'd win 3 in a row, and it would give their head coach, Randy Allen, his 4th state title, which would put him in the realm of coaches like Todd Dodge, who had that dynasty of South Lake Carroll Hek'ma, Tim Buchanan, who was with Aledo before Coach Wood took over, and then G.A. Moore, who was with Salina. So all those 3 schools that we just talked about have the most state championships. It's because of those great coaches, and head coach Randy Allen is right up there. But, Hek'ma, we were there, and Kyle, you as well. We got to see that performance against Denton Ryan, a game that we were looking forward to. And Highland Park, it wasn't even competitive, brother.
No.
From the word go, they dominated Denton Ryan, who coming in, we've talked all year long about how vaunted that defense was. Chandler Morris made him look like mincemeat. He did whatever he wanted with his legs, with his arm. Their offensive line dominated. They ran the football pretty effectively. And defensively, with Jack Jurgovan, Prince Dorba, the stable and versatility they've got at linebacker, Hudson Clark playing corner about as well as anybody in the state, Highland Park is complete at every single level. They are scary dangerous, man.
Yeah, you look at the offensive side, Chandler Morris. You look at the defensive side, Prince Dorba, and then they've got a huge supporting cast to really be able to get the job done on both sides of the football because they're a fundamentally sound team, also led by, like you talked about, one of the best coaches in all time, or a living or walking legend in the coach of Aledo.
Yeah.
And then you look at Randy Allen, he's the same way as well. Just the coaching there and the way that he's he's owned Denton Ryan over the last couple of seasons. And you saw that again on Saturday. Now you look to try and win a second straight state championship against an Alvin area team because Manville, a lot of those kids that were at
ironic,
Manville
right?
are going to end up playing in this game for Shadow Creek. What's that kind of thing in terms of looking at both of them?
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at Shadow Creek, and they're trying to become the first UIL varsity team to win a championship in their inaugural season. I think it's since 1982 when Beaumont Westbrook did it. Mm-hmm. And that, funnily enough, is who Longview plays the game afterwards. So it's crazy to think about, but there's so much talent in that Houston area, and we'll get to that with Galena Park North Shore, coming up with that game against Duncanville.
Yeah.
But Manville was littered with Division I talent across the board against Highland Park. A lot of people looked at that game and said the Scotties didn't have a chance. It turned out to be maybe the greatest game ever played, and they won that football game. I think going into tomorrow, it's pretty evident who the favorite's going to be. It'll be the Highland Park Scots and Alvin Shadow Creek, a team that I do think can match up wise.
I think so too.
I just don't think there might not be as complete a football team in 5A Division I as Highland Park, and I think that they prove that every time they step onto the football field.
Ever since that win against John Tyler, a lot of people were looking at it as, hey, this is the team to win it. I mean, they might have been saying that beforehand, but they're definitely saying it now.
So, Eric, I'm waiting on you, man. I'm waiting on you to jump in. Come on, I'm going to give it to you.
Listen, Jermarian
Tell me about that quarterback.
Jermarian George, 10 rushes last week, 3 of them resulted in touchdowns.
Oh,
and he's a special
2,800
player.
yards passing for the season, 32 touchdowns, almost 400 yards rushing. This guy can play. They got D1 talent in the back end of that defense. They got a couple guys on that D line. When you look at Alec Bryant, he's going to be playing at LSU or Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's some players on that defense.
Xavier Alford at DB,
Xavier Alford,
leads the team with
absolutely.
interceptions.
Chandler Morris is going to have it out for him.
Yeah, I think it's really going to have to be George and his running ability. He can create with his legs, and that Highland Park team proved they can get after it, Hek'ma, on that front seven. They had Seth Hannigan. The only thing that they had no answer for was Drew Sanders last week, and I still am befuddled as to why Denton Ryan didn't run Drew Sanders more. Highland Park didn't tackle him the whole game. He came in, ran twice. They couldn't tackle him, and then he caught a touchdown. But they left Seth Hannigan in. So we'll see what George can do.
Yeah, a little bit puzzling there, but of course, Randy Allen and that coaching staff had a game plan as well, looking forward to it. And talking about coaching and talking about Highland Park, we've got the man who's been on the call for the last 2 state championship games, now looking for his 3rd state championship game. How about Mr. Eric Cunningham, the coach, joins us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. And Coach Cunningham, first off, thanks for joining us again. How excited are you for tomorrow's matchup between Highland Park and Shadow Creek?
Well, excuse me, boys. I'll tell you, fired up would be an understatement. It's just absolutely incredible that the Scots are back here for a 3rd time. And, to say that I'm excited and fired up and, I'm going to have a hard time sleeping tonight. I can't imagine how these coaches and players feel. So, I'm ready to rock and roll, baby.
Hey, Coach Cunningham, this is Hek'ma Harrison here. Now, I'm used to asking Miles Dunklin these really hard questions, but you're my victim tonight, so I got something for you, all right?
Well, bring it on, baby. I love it. Let's do it.
Look, man, so the thing about it that working with these brilliant guys on the show, it makes you do a lot of research on teams, and so I want to know, speak my truth and know where I'm coming from on this. Now, for the last 3 years, Highland Park has literally been in a hunted position because they have been playing some really tough teams and everyone has doubted them in winning those games. But now they are the hunter. And everyone knows who Chandler Morris is. They know about the style of football they're going to play. Talk about the difference between coming into the last 2 state championships and coming into this one tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a tremendous question. And you make a valid point. And there were very few people, frankly, that thought the Scots were going to beat Denton Ryan in the semifinals the last 2 years. And then to come out and win the state championship was an incredible feat, specifically last year against an unbelievably talented Manville team. And, even with, 4 minutes left in the game, there were people leaving the premises and thought this thing was over with. And the Scots just continued to believe. And, we go back to 2 weeks ago against really what I think is one of the better high school football games that I've seen in my time, and that was against John Tyler, where the Scots rattled off, 28 unanswered. And, they just have this no-quit, Scots find a way mentality that's been around for as long as I can remember. So you make a great point in that, I think they're obviously the favorite. And if you look around the state of Texas, I love using the term experts out there because it's so funny, specifically having the mentality I do as a former coach. You've got all those experts throughout the state, and all of them have the Scots picked, and sometimes that's worrisome for the coaching staff and the players to I think they liked playing that underdog role the last 2 years and proving people wrong. So it is a little bit of a shakeup in the mentality I think that the Scots have, but I can tell you this much, they're accustomed to that. They're used to winning. They expect to win, and I think they have a lot of things going in their favor going into this game.
Coach, what kind of challenge is that Shadow Creek defense, only giving up 15 points per game? They got 4-star defensive lineman Alec Bryan on that D-line, bunch of D1 recruits in that back end, including Xavier Alford. What kind of challenge does that defense bring for Chandler Morris in that offense?
Well, they're fast. They're big, they're fast, and they've got a great secondary. They've got a big secondary. And when you face that athleticism, again, guys, and I keep pointing back to that Manville game, but, it's just ironic that they're coming from the same school district in Alvin ISD and, a lot of the same type-looking athletes. And, they do pose a threat and a challenge. They're big up front. Again, guys, you don't win every game in your season and play for a district championship if you're not very talented in all 3 phases. But these guys really, when I watch the film on them, my goodness, they are really, really good defensively. But I can promise you, I don't think they've seen an offense that's clicking and playing as well as this Highland Park offense is. Let's look back to last week against Denton Ryan. And, Zach, you had the pleasure of, matter of fact, I got big shoes to fill coming back into the booth, brother. I think you might have been up there with Miles, and you did a tremendous job. But, guys, look back on that game, and really, the Scots were only stopped twice, and one time they stopped themselves with a pick in the end zone. They are clicking on all cylinders. And so, across the board, the fact that the Scots are running the ball, well, to where you at least have to respect that. And then, obviously the weapons they have on the perimeter, they're going to have their hands full with a really good secondary. But the thing that I don't think enough people talk about, guys, is the offensive line play for Highland Park and the continuity that they have had this entire year. They've only had one starter that missed one game all year long, and I think that's huge because these guys have just gotten better and better as the years progressed. So for me tomorrow, I'm really going to watch in the trenches to see, who wins that battle up front because I think that's going to be really important. And the one name I haven't mentioned in this sequence now, and I'm sure you guys are getting to it, is Chandler Morris. And, oh, my Lord, what a stud that young man is. He is a true dual-threat quarterback, and I think that's where, the Scots are going to lean on that tomorrow and try to run the ball effectively. With Chandler, they're going to open up the entire playbook. And, again, I think that they're going to see a really good defense, but they're clicking really well on offense right now.
Coach, I wanted to ask you kind of about the perception of Highland Park football and how it's evolved in your eyes from that 2005 state championship team led by Matthew Stafford and the stigma from then on until that 2016 team was able to win the state title, well, Highland Park doesn't have the athletes, or they've got to have the elite quarterback to get the job done, to now being on the cusp of winning a third straight state title tomorrow morning. What's your perception on how this Highland Park team's evolved over the course of the last 2 decades under head coach Randy Allen?
Man, Zach, that's a tremendous question, because my first year as a coach in Highland Park was 2005. And, obviously at that time I was at the middle school level, so I was doing a bunch of scouting, and I still feel very blessed to have received a ring my first year coaching. And what a talented group that was. But, man, you asked such a great question in that, then they kind of went through this so-come lull. Now, granted, they played for the state championship in 2002. I'm going to have to think here. 7, I believe, was down in Waco. I think it was 2007. Great defense that year. But they kind of went through this lull where they played great in the regular season, as they always do. Coach Allen always has these guys prepared, but they just couldn't quite get over the hump. Well, they have now officially gotten over that hump, and to be playing for 3 consecutive state championships is just incredible. Now, here's the key, guys, in my opinion. You remember through that little spell, the Scots had to jump up to 6A for a 2-year span. And I think that was huge for the Highland Park Scots to be the smallest school at the 6A classification and to get in there and fight and battle and scrap and claw and know that they could play with those big boys. And then Coach Allen has scheduled those big boys in the non-district schedule with Rockwall, Mesquite, Horn, teams like that are big, they're physical, they're good. And I think it's prepared the Scots to get over the hump to be able to achieve something that is just absolutely incredible. And the term that I like to use here is they really have established a true dynasty, because the bottom line here, guys, is the tradition is there. We all know that. It's such a rich tradition. But these last 2 years, to beat a very talented Denton Ryan team 2 years in a row, and then obviously take care of Manville in the state championship last year, and it's just been so fun to be a part of, and they truly have gotten over that hump. And I'll tell you what, man, I've got a good feeling about tomorrow. I really do. These guys are playing well with a lot of confidence, and what a special day it'll be if they can accomplish a 3rd consecutive state championship.
11 a.m. kickoff tomorrow morning at AT&T Stadium. Jerry World looking to be just the proper home to a 3rd Highland Park state championship in a row. Coach Cunningham, thanks for joining us again. We'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
All right, sounds good, fellas. Thanks for all you guys do for high school football.
Absolutely. We love doing it, and we love talking to Coach Cunningham, and he's always got great insight of knowledge of really even the past years of Highland Park and that organization. Love having him on, and what a day that's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is a big matchup. You talked about the athleticism of their team in complete they're as athletic as John Tyler is coming into tomorrow's game.
Oh yeah,
and they're gonna put up some points as well. The one thing that you have seen over time now with the run that Highland Park is making, that they're not going to get rattled. There's not going to be a situation that's going to be too big for them, and that comes down to just their coach. Most teams, and you've been around football long enough, you know that teams are a reflection of their leadership, their head coach, and Coach Allen. There's something that he's doing in the preparation weekly that makes his team as cool as they are, because, again, when we got into that game with Denton Ryan, we expected for Denton Ryan to muscle them and kind of beat them up. It was the complete opposite. Highland Park's defense is the one that took the fight to Denton Ryan. And there's a guy, number 14, Hudson Clark. I circled him on my program, because this guy was coming up every time. He was playing as big as anybody that I saw. Now, I know Princeton Durba, kid's a monster. I mean, literally, he played a monster game last week. But number 14, lights out. I mean, he was covering every play. And when they ran that RPO, he was all over it on the quarterback sneak. So got to say something about Hudson Clark.
No doubt.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a whole lot of look in terms of next level offers.
And that's surprising.
Yeah, I think he's got a preferred walk-on maybe for Arkansas, but certainly a kid that, and it's because I think in talking with Miles Dunklin, who gets to talk a lot of these recruiters, they look at Highland Park and some of these kids and they think they've kind of maxed out their potential. They've kind of peaked. No. Hudson Clark, you look at Finn Corwin, some of these other players that don't have the big-time recruiting offers outside of Morris and Dorba. man, these kids can just flat out ball.
Yeah.
And colleges need to take some notice.
I completely agree. Could not agree more. Now, Coach talked about the big boys in terms of 6A, and one of the reasons why Highland Park's so successful is because they play up whenever they play in non-district. They play a little bit of those Rockwalls, those 6A teams. Well, somebody that's in Rockwall's division that's still alive or district that's still alive, how about the Longview Lobos? We talked about Mr. Matthew McConaughey starting this hour and how pumped up we were of Matthew McConaughey, but his Lobos have a chance to win that elusive state championship tomorrow in front of 70,000 of their closest friends, because that entire section, not only of the city, but the state of Texas, all of East Texas is going to be out tomorrow, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. Longview versus Westbrook.
That is correct, man. 15-0 Longview, 28-2 in their last 2 seasons. This is their 5th state title appearance. Last one was in 2009, but they haven't won the sucker in 81 years.
The whole city's coming out to finally see the streak broken, baby.
Absolutely. All of East Texas will be there. It is the 3rd postseason matchup in 3 years between these two teams. Westbrook won by 1 point, 34-33, back in 2016. Last year, Longview gets the 42-21 dub. This is the rubber match in Beaumont Westbrook. Hey, listen, they're coming to play. They've lost 2 games this year, one of which was to a North Shore team that we're going to get to here shortly. But we know that team is one of the best teams we've seen in quite some time. Last week, they beat a Austin Westlake team that was only giving up 7 points per game. They put up 35 on them. All right, so this Westbrook team is not going to lay down. They're a big play offense. They got a senior quarterback who's a dual threat guy, 3-year starter, Laravian Elia. This dude, man, over 2,000 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, and he's second on the team with almost 800 rushing yards. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball, 460 yards a game, 255 on the ground, 45 points a game. I mean, these guys come to play. They got a receiver, Thad Castle Johnson, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. He can really take the top off of defense. And they got a trick play guy in Deontay Thompson with 10 touchdowns. So, listen, these guys come to play. Their defense is good. They only give up 25 points a game, the exact same amount as Longview gives up, and they got 31 takeaways on the season. So, this should be quite a fun matchup. And you're talking about a Longview team who, over the last 2 weeks, has struggled to throw the football.
Yeah.
Now, last week I know they had a big lead, and that plays into it, but less than 100 yards passing each of the last 2 games with a quarterback in Haynes King who's getting offers from everybody. So that's a little bit surprising, but this is a Longview team that we've been following for a while. We know the kind of season they've had, undefeated. I still would expect them to win, but this is a Westbrook team that's absolutely coming to play.
Yeah, you see the Texcosa hook and ladder play a couple extra times, because that game got really close right up at the end, but really for the most part, Longview dominated that football game all the way up until the very end. And Texcosa, credit to them, they did not keep really that domination for long, because Longview definitely had their work cut out for them in that 4th quarter. But you look at the Lobos and the way that they've played this season, but I like what you said, Eric, about Westbrook. This is no slouch of a Westbrook team, and nobody you're going to run into in a state championship can be classified as so, but even though there's 15-0, 13-2, this is definitely a Westbrook team that can take down Longview if the Lobos aren't careful.
And they've got a pair of UNT commits at wide receiver, and Damon Ward and Deontay Simpson. Simpson 10 touchdowns on the year, and then your boy Thad Johnson. It's big, 6'2". I mean, he's a big physical receiver that can go down there and catch it. And then when you look at Laravian Elia, his ability to extend the play, I think, could cause problems. But Longview, man, we got to see them up close and personal after that Duncanville game. And Hek'ma, you were talking about it, and I thought the same thing. Like, these boys are big.
Yeah.
Longview's big, and they're deep along the defensive line. They got guys that can come in and rotate, and they show it. You look at their season, 30 sacks. They've forced 27 turnovers. Longview defensively, I think that's going to be an excellent matchup versus that Westbrook Bruin offense that is very prolific. And we've talked about the Lobos so balanced offensively.
Yeah.
When you look at Haynes King, and he hasn't even done it through the air the last couple of weeks.
Exactly.
I mean, Eric, to your point, he's been really held in check, but he hasn't needed to, because that running game has been so strong. But if they get into a situation, and it might come against Westbrook with the ability the Bruins have to put up points, if Haynes King needs to push the ball down the field, I have no doubt that quarterback who was recently named first team All AP in the state of Texas has the ability to go out there. When you look at 40 touchdowns through the air to just 3 interceptions this season,
wow,
he is an extremely efficient and intelligent quarterback, and he doesn't need to put up the stats to win. That's the best thing about Haynes King. He just wants success for his football team, but if he needs to step up, he can do it.
Yeah, and I think this is a game where he's going to have to, right, Hek'ma?
Yeah, I mean, Haynes King is one of the most impressive human beings you'll ever see live. Yeah. That's for sure. Big old kid. The Lobos had a big old team, and when they came out of the tunnel, that's when I looked right over at you and said, woo.
Yeah, you probably saw Marcus Williams, all offensive tackle going to ECU.
These are Jesse Anderson's a big back.
Oh, Jesse Anderson.
And the thing about it, guys, and this is going to be my challenge. This is my personal challenge next season. Fred, please take me back next season.
Trust me, you've earned a spot.
All right, thank you. You know, what happens is we spend so much time talking about these North Texas teams, the ones that we know. And Professor Matt Diggs, I don't know this guy, but I follow him on Twitter. He is a guy that will get into an argument with you about any high school team because he knows his stuff. And he's always pointing at people like, you don't know nothing about these guys. You only know about your guys. And what these kids down in Beaumont and that area, they play a very fierce schedule. Those Channel View teams, all those oil and gas cities down there, but those oil and gas pockets, play some big-time football. And because we don't know about the Bruins, don't mean they ain't kicking up dust. And they coming in with a team just as big as the Lobos. Mm-hmm. And the teams that they've lost to are all guys that are showing up in the state championship. So, look, I know that we understand that these guys are pretty big and they're doing a good job. But, hey, man, this is going to be a tough challenge for the Lobos.
So you're picking Westbrook is what you're saying?
No.
They got a lot of speed, man. They really do. They're a big play offense, and I think it is a tough test for Longview, and I do think Haynes King is going to absolutely come out of whatever slump he's been in for the last 2 weeks and really start pushing the ball down the field to guys like.
And that's what it's going to take. He's going to have to remember who he is,
absolutely,
because the dynamic is shifting. But when you get to this point in the season, teams are so good. If you cut off one thing, they do another thing, i.e. La Vega. So the Lobos know how to do it.
But again, Westbrook, 35 points last week on an Austin Westlake team that was only giving up 7 points coming into it. So they are going to put up points. Longview only gives up 25 points a game. It's a really good defense, but they're going to put up points against you. Haynes King and that offense is going to have to come and play.
What do you say the over-under is for this game? Lots of points on both ends?
Ooh. I would think both of these teams, I would put the over-under at probably somewhere around 65.
Wow, okay. So there are going to be a lot of
points. 3 plays of 65 yards or more for Westbrook last week. 3 plays of 65 yards or more.
Yeah.
Pretty.
There you go. They're explosive. Big plays, and that's a really, really good Westlake
65 over under. My goodness. There'll be some fireworks tomorrow.
Woo, lots of scoring.
Hey, you're talking about Haynes King, Keelan Williams, Jesse Anderson, Camden Perry. They're scoring points, boys.
Man, he's just name dropping.
He just did that real quick.
Who's who on that Lobo offense?
Did his
Studs.
homework.
That's who it is.
Well, you talk about studs. You talk about them really kind of being the hottest team. You talk about undefeated teams. Well, how about a little bit of 6A Division I? And we've got a little bit of a game to talk about from last week. Hek'ma.
Yes, sir.
Week 1 of the season, what were one of the things you said about this Duncanville team in the blue?
I said that they match up really well, and I think I found the team that can do it.
Okay. Zach Wolchuk, who did you say was your state championship week 1 of the season?
That would be the Duncanville Panthers.
Okay. Eric, who did you say last week, or really all year long, who was good enough to beat Allen?
Hek'ma's Duffelbag Boys.
The Duffelbag Boys of Duncanville. I'm not bragging. I think as a show, we got this one right because, oh my goodness, Duncanville and the Panthers, they did it. 44-35 over Allen last week. You're seeing the highlights.
That man.
Quinton Jackson. Woo. Oh my goodness. He had himself a game along with the Panthers. They were up 35-14 at halftime. A little bit of a comeback, though.
Quinton Jackson.
How about that?
Gosh,
227 total yards, 4 touchdowns in that game versus Allen, including the game winner in the fourth quarter. And it started off, look at this play.
This one
This is right before half. This is the play.
Gosh.
Quinton Jackson, back of the end zone, a strike. Unbelievable. And Kyle, what was your game prediction before
this was the turning point, though, right here.
I said 42-14.
Well, at halftime, it looked like it.
Yeah.
And then here came the Allen Eagles, and we gave that stat last week about Duncanville not allowing a single point in the third quarter. Well, Allen scored 3 touchdowns in the third. This one's all tied up at 35 in the fourth quarter. And then it was the Duffel Bag Boys' time to shine. And DeBraylon Carroll, the big defensive tackle, led a defensive line for Duncanville that had 8 sacks in this football game.
That's their fourth down.
There's
right
the game
there.
winner. On fourth down, Jaquindon Jackson fakes like he's going outside, cuts upfield, boop, sayonara. That's all she wrote. What an impressive victory. A lot of ebbs and flows in this game. Duncanville up big. Allen comes right back, and we'd seen that story so many times. Teams get up on Duncanville, but DeBraylon Carroll right there. That was the play of the game, and it was fitting that it came down to the defense.
Oh, look at Coach Samples.
The Godfather, man.
This is the story of the weekend, folks. Coach Reginald Samples, who, and we got living proof of this right here. This man has impacted so many lives throughout his coaching tenure, whether it was at Madison, at Lincoln, at Skyline, to now at Duncanville, yet to win a state championship. Got extremely close in 04 with Lincoln, had some great runs with Skyline. Is this finally the year that not only Duncanville wins their first state title since 98, but the great Coach Samples wins his first ever state championship?
Yeah, it's time, right? If you start looking at the amount of time that he's coached, the amount of state titles that he's gone to, all of the people that he's coached, you have to tell yourself, man, that's the last thing that he has. But he has an opponent coming up from Houston that has every intention to not let him win, allow him to win a state champion. Before we get into that in that relationship, man, I want to make sure that I give the credit that is deserved to North Shore, because this is a team that, because we hadn't seen them, I've had to sit down and look at some film on them.
And it's quite the pleasure to watch.
Okay. This ain't going to be a cupcake.
No.
By a long shot. And again, back to Professor Diggs and what he said. You don't know anything about that triangle down there in southern Texas, where these guys are playing some really stiff competition. So I made some calls to some family members in Houston just to find out about the football that's being played at North Shore. And guys, the kids on the east side of Houston, they tough. And what the community in Houston is saying is that this is the best Houston team ever.
Wow.
Now, when you talk Houston teams, let's go Katy, let's go all the way. I mean, there are a lot of great Houston teams, but for the consensus to be that this is the greatest team that Houston's ever produced, that's saying a mouthful.
Well, you look at their resume. They've blown out Katy, you just mentioned, not once, but twice, second time being in the playoffs.
Yep.
They just handed Lake Travis, who had made 3 straight state championship appearances, their worst loss in program history, 51-10 in the state semifinals. Kyle and I, we're at that Highland Park game. He looks over at me. It's 34-3 in the second quarter.
Oh, with like 5 or 6 minutes left in the second
This
quarter.
team's drubbing teams. Oh, and by the way, they also just ran right through Cy-Fair, a team that went to the state championship last year as well.
They won a state championship.
They won a state championship last year. So this Galena Park North Shore team, led by Zachary Evans, who gets all the love, and he should, maybe the best player in the country for the class of 2020, a man amongst boys, has 9 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. This dude's a freak show, but they're big in the line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively. Hek'ma, I think we've got ourselves. I mean, we talked about Allen last week.
Yeah.
Dude, if you want to say North Shore's better than Allen, I'm not going to argue with you.
I don't think I would.
North
argue
Shore
either.
is good.
And here's the thing: you look at the route that North Shore took. You look at the route that Duncanville took. Both of these teams had to go through the best competition in their area to get to this moment.
Period.
If you look at Houston and you look at them saying this is the greatest Houston team that has ever made it out of Houston and made it to a state championship ever. You got to look on the other side. You look at Duncanville. This is one of the best, maybe top 5 defenses, maybe even better than that, in Texas high school football history. The offense isn't there in terms of historicness, but they're very good themselves. This Duncanville team might be a top 5 Dallas team to ever make it to a state championship. we've got ourselves a classic tomorrow.
It's a lot of evers. It's a lot of evers.
We've got ourselves a classic.
And you know what? We might be prisoners of the moment, but when you just look at the amount of talent last week that was on the field for Duncanville and Allen, there is just as much this week. And
if
that's
not more.
a very young North Shore program. A lot of these teams we're talking about are. North Shore starting a sophomore quarterback, and Zachary Evans is a junior.
Sophomore and receiver.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
Both of these guys, top 5.
Sophomore, starting quarterback's a sophomore, and he's been incredible. Demetrius Davis, 3,000 yards, 38 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions this year on 71% completion. And then you just mentioned the number 1 running back in 2020. I mean, my gosh. And then the sophomore receiver, Shadrack Banks.
Shadrack Banks.
Oh my gosh, this dude over 1,000 yards, 24 yards per catch, and 14 touchdowns. These guys
good.
These guys can really do it all. But I think it's the battle of the trenches. You mentioned that North Shore offensive line, that physicality, how big they are
against that outstanding
Duncanville dude, who had 8 sacks last week.
8 sacks
really
against a really good Allen offensive line,
and the clinching sacks for a safety against Allen last week. That's just, I mean, that matchup to me right there is where the game will be won and lost. And then with these two quarterbacks, it's just going to be what a blast.
Dealing with you guys, I know that you guys have done plenty of research on both of these teams. And so for me, when I'm looking at a team, I go from the inside out, start from the trenches, work my way out, look at the skill positions, wide receiver, quarterback, try and make the differences. Offensive line, defensive line, I give the edge to Duncanville. All right. Running back, obviously, I give the edge to North Shore.
No slight to Tristan Smith, though, who opened that game, set the tone with that long.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I'm looking.
Zachary Evans is special.
Zachary Evans, hands down. There's no way you're going to say, "Oh, Duncanville has a better."
There's no running back you can say is better.
And look, let's do this as well, because I realize now I'm a part of the media, guys. All right, so since I'm a media guy, right? I got to do
my guy.
I got to do the comparison
it's
thing,
the best,
right? So I'm gonna do a comparison. Everybody's saying that this kid Zachary Evans reminds them a lot of Adrian Peterson. That's big shoes to fill. That's a big shoe to fill, because Adrian Peterson, 6'2", 215 pounds, going into Oklahoma, and he just galloped. Right, but this kid Zachary Evans is the same way. But he's a little bit lower to the ground, but still same build. You can tell he's going to be a cockstrong guy all the time, But he has every gear imaginable. He'll run past you, he'll run over you, he'll leave your spat at the 30. That's just the way that it happens. The difference in this game for me, after I look at every intangible that can possibly happen, number 3, Jaquindon Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
What answer does North Shore have for Jaquindon Jackson? Because Jaquindon Jackson last Saturday took Allen to church. I mean, he passed the collection plate. It was a service. It was a service going on. And when you got to that 4th down and 2, and he broke for that long 40-yard stride, untouched.
And it was crazy because everybody in the stadium knew that number 3 was keeping the football. And I think Allen, it was just a great vision play by him, and just the football IQ to know, all right, we've been hitting these guys by trying to hit the outside and get to the corner.
Cut back.
It didn't work last time. I'm going to put my foot in the ground, and he cuts right up the field and outruns everybody. I mean, Jaquindon Jackson, I'll say he missed some throws. If there's one knock on the kid, he needs to improve his accuracy, and he needs to make some throws on. He had some wide open targets. And
he just fastball. Everything's a fastball.
But man, in terms of his running ability, as good as that North Shore defense is, you're right. I can't say that they have an answer for Jaquindon Jackson.
And that touchdown throw though he had last week as well, though,
that was special.
To his left right there before half. Holy!
And I compared, seeing him up close and personal, and wearing the same jersey number certainly helps. But he does remind me a lot of Sean Robinson, who won a state championship 2 years ago with DeSoto. Just transferred from TCU to Missouri. They both were quarterbacks where they'd make some throws where your jaw drops, but then they'll miss some, and you think to yourself, what is that?
What's going on?
Just take over games with their legs, and that's Jaquindon Jackson.
Now, another matchup last week, and not to harp on this in this game, and Allen, you guys were absolutely fantastic and have dominated, and we have to say something about the dynasty that they had, but no one ever really cries for Goliath, right? So no one's crying for Allen, but those guys put a lot of work into being as good as they were. Chuck, don't say nothing. All right. And so I just want to talk about the matchup between EJ Adoma Ogar and DeBraylon Carroll. 2 guys that, if I have it my way, they will definitely meet at the next level. But DeBraylon Carroll, when you talk about Duncanville's defense, there is a who's who. There's a guy at every position that you can say, That's a Division I player. Alex Brown, Marquez Beeson, the kid with the gold watch, man. I cannot believe
Can you believe that? We're sitting there on the sideline.
He plays with a gold watch. Marquez Beeson plays with a gold watch.
On his left wrist.
I can't believe it. Plays with the whole game.
Hey,
with
you
the
look good, you play good.
It's a power move.
That's a power.
It was.
But I'm saying every position you look at it, that's a kid that could play at the next level just because of how aggressive and how fast everybody plays at every position. But number 55, DeBraylon Carroll, this kid is. I mean, let's compare him to somebody. I don't know. I mean, he's 6 foot 6'1", 300 pounds. He's very nimble. The defensive line they played for the Indianapolis Colts a long time ago, I think it was Simon or something.
Simeon Rice?
Not Simeon Rice. Something Simon. He was from Florida State. I forget his name, but either way,
Corey Simon, maybe? Is it Corey Simon?
Corey Simon. That is exactly what his name is. That's what he reminded me of. Very low center of gravity, always going up the field. Just a nightmare for big guards and tackles, because he's always getting leverage on him. Again, he's taking his hands, he's yanking guys.
It's like a Geno Atkins.
Man, it's just, God, I loved it.
This is going to be 7 o'clock tomorrow at AT&T Stadium. That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's going to be an unbelievable football game. We hyped up Allen Duncanville all season long, but we didn't really look at North Shore early in the year and said, hey, Duncanville, North Shore, this is going to be a game. I think this is a game that all four of us, we're going to be there at the stadium. So if you want, come stop by, say hi. Friday Night Stars will probably be wearing these exact.
We're wearing the exact same.
I'm gonna wash mine though. I'm gonna wash mine.
No, you got to wash
Won't
it.
wash his, but we'll.
I'm not changing. I'm staying up all night, baby.
Okay, you're staying up all night, but come say hi. We'd love to talk to you if you are at the stadium. But
don't get too crazy though. I mean, Friday Night Stars fans, every time we're out and about, they sometimes get a little crazy.
Get a little wild.
The Allen fans hate me.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be a game tomorrow that we're all going to remember for a long, long, long time. Now, it's time to do something else that we will remember for a long, long, long time.
What are we gonna do? I'm scared.
How about Friday Night Stars Awards?
Oh, we're picking it right back up.
Did we get any envelopes this time? Did you give us envelopes?
Same thing. We're going to stick it. Hey, we're beginnings. It's the first year of Friday Night Stars. So we're going to start things off, and I'm actually going to lead things off with Defensive Player of the Year.
And the Defensive Player of the Year.
Hek'ma might just announce all of them. Let's take a look at the nominees for Defensive Player of the Year for Friday Night Stars. Once again, these are voted on by everybody in our crew and our reporters as well. How about
tough.
Brian Williams? Oh, man.
Wow.
Done, and the state champions.
Chris Thompson Jr.
Yeah, how about Chris Thompson?
Man, I can't believe Stephen Parker didn't make it. That's
that
a list of who's who.
Anthony Orgy also not on the list.
Yeah, we left off some good ones, but it was a great year for defensive players.
It really was. And Braylon Brooks, I'm glad he's up there because Saxe didn't get a whole lot of love after they lost early in the playoffs, but that Saxe team defensively was as good as they come, and Braylon Brooks was a big-time reason for that. Now, I do want to remind everybody that last week we did do Hit of the Year, and Chris Thompson won Hit of the Year with his hit on T.J. McDaniel in the...
Chris Thompson is a dog.
Oh, he's a dog.
We'll see him tomorrow.
He's
Absolutely.
a dog.
He's still playing. So without further ado, the 2018 Defensive Player of the Year for Friday Night Stars is Chris Thompson, Duncanville, repeat winner. For
Chris Thompson,
first two-time winner.
Yep, first two-time winner.
I think that's a massive upset.
How about this? Oh, let's look at it. Boom! There he is, coming across the middle. T.J. McDaniel.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi. No chance. You think he said that while he was talking?
Yeah. No, I got two sources confirm that for me.
Man,
boy, Chris Thompson do that all night long, and that's everybody.
Wait, one more time. Who's got the gold watch?
Boom!
Dang.
Those votes came in at the right time for him.
Yeah, they did.
My goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was definitely a maybe a prisoner of the moment situation.
It may have been, but he definitely won it. He's a great player, great year all the way beginning.
Had a big interception last week against Allen.
He did, and he's been the leader for that Duncanville Duffelbag Boys group all year long, so definitely well-deserving. Now, let's go to Offensive Player of the Year. Lots of great candidates as well for this one, but we had to narrow it down to 3. We've got Chandler Morris, the man at the helm for the Highland Park Scotties. Theo Weiss, the stud wide receiver commit to Oklahoma coming out of Allen. And then T.J. McDaniel, the future SMU Mustang, who just took that hit from Chris Thompson.
Got up like a champ.
Oh, Hek'ma's channeling his inner genie. Who do you think this one's going to be?
Got a good feeling about it?
I got a hunch.
Got a hunch. This is all based off of voting and also based off a point system, so it's not rigged.
Cool. Let's go.
And all the points count the same. Your vote doesn't count more than my vote, and vice versa.
Hek'ma voted about 10 different times.
Yeah, he did.
So it's
he really
not
did
rigged for sure.
It is not rigged for sure.
Okay.
All right, Eric.
It's good for Chris Thompson.
Who is
it's
it?
also good for our Friday Night Stars Offensive Player of the Year, Mr. Theo Wees.
What? Surprise,
Half
ladies and
of
gentlemen.
the law and the law firm. Half of the law firm, correct?
There he is.
For the Allen Eagles going to Oklahoma.
A complete stud.
And Theo, we
Second-team
still put on a
All-State.
show against Duncan.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Should have been first team All State. Not sure what the problem was there.
He wasn't first team All-State.
No, he was
Second
second team.
Oh, that's
What?
That's
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, that's
Yeah.
all right because we
That's
made up
flat out
for it.
wrong.
You
Yeah.
disqualify
An even better
yourself.
award as a Friday Night Stars
Whoever,
Offensive Player.
Yeah, you disqualify yourself on that one.
Congratulations, Theo. And all the Weeses.
Whoever voted that, yeah, that's flat out wrong. He was unbelievable this
He
year.
wasn't on my top 3 ballot.
No, well,
That is absolutely surprising.
well, he was on plenty of people's top 3 ballots.
Wolchuk only had Chandler Morris, Benner Page, and Finn Coleman.
No, I had none of them.
You didn't have Finn?
He had Drew Sanders in there as well.
For Defensive Player of the Year.
Theo, we 72 receptions, 1,042 yards, and 16 touchdowns,
Boy.
over 14 and a half yards
Golly.
per catch.
That's
What
good
a
for
year.
second team All State. Holy smokes, who
Yeah,
first?
but
Yeah,
Friday Night Stars
right.
Offensive Player of the Year. How about that?
Offensive
Yeah,
Player
even
of the
better.
Year.
That's
Well deserved,
prestigious.
Theo.
Yeah,
Heck
he'll
of a
be
season,
playing at the
sir.
next level. Let's go to Coach of the Year.
Coach of the
And
Year.
Mr. Zach Wolchuk is the one that's actually going to be announcing this one.
boy.
Let's look
Peach
at the
is a peach.
nominees. Chad Cole, Randy Allen, Jason Tucker. 3 very deserving
Where's
coaches.
Peach?
Coach Peach did not make it. He did have votes, but he did not make the top.
Mr. Odell over at Louisville.
He did
Odell
not make it
rules.
either.
Man, it's tough. There's just been so many great
Oh,
seasons.
absolutely.
So many great seasons. Don't want to leave anybody off the list. But Hek'ma, will you please introduce this?
And the winner is.
Coach Jason Tucker from the Holton Buffalo.
That is. That's a good
finally one we got right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jason Tucker deserves it.
And then you look at Haltom Buffaloes. We talked about Michael Black all year long, and we talked about really the way that this Haltom team. This one was close between him and then Frisco Reedy's head coach as well. This was decided, I think, by 1 vote.
Wow.
One
You know,
single
we
point.
got that right because definitely Reedy's coach was exceptional.
Oh,
Their
absolutely.
first time getting as
Absolutely.
far as they
Yeah.
did in the playoffs. So, yeah.
Overall, a lot of great coaches throughout
What a
the
year
area.
for Holtham, though. Greatest year that
man.
they've maybe ever had. Coach Tucker did an excellent job with that bunch.
Yeah, and they'll be back next year as well. That's going to be a Haltom team. Maybe not undefeated like we saw this year, heading into the state quarterfinals and getting to that point, but an incredible year for Haltom. And, of course, I mean, we didn't see them coming this year either, so next year you never know with the Haltom Buffaloes. And finally, last but not least, our final award that we're going to give out, the MVP, Most Valuable Player throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth
And the most valuable player award goes to. And the nominee.
Yeah, there you go.
And the nominees are Michael Black from Haltom,
very deserving.
TJ McDaniel, South Lake Carroll, Chandler Morris, Highland Park.
This is going to be a fun one because you look at all 3 of these guys, and these guys are the team.
Well, where's Caden Davis on this list?
Oh, he's not up.
Did
there.
he just
won the Special
miss the
Teams
cut?
Award.
Yeah, Special Teams Player of the Year. Friday
Okay,
Night
good.
Stars,
We must announce that during the week.
Oh yeah.
It was
was
social media.
Okay,
yeah, it
good.
was deleted since then. But yeah, so if you go back and
Congrats.
look at it, it's not on there.
Congrats, Caden. You're gonna have
Yep,
a great
Caden Davis
career
got it. But
as an Aggie.
All right, you guys
terms of
ready? You guys
MVP.
ready for the MVP?
Sure.
The most valuable player of the year
Joey
goes
Rogers.
to Chandler
Chandler
Morris. You're our first ever MVP, Chandler.
Who would have thunk it?
Well, that's well
deserved. Well deserved. What the kid put on the show all year long. Chandler Morris, I am so happy to announce you as MVP of Friday Night Stars, sir.
And one of the big things, you look at not only how well he has played and what the numbers he's put up. Yes, they've been gaudy. Yes, he's been absolutely astounding. But the shoes he had to fill were quite possibly the biggest shoes to fill in the entire state of Texas. And John Stephen Jones, and he not only filled those shoes, but man, he's made plays like that one. He made plays like he did against Tyler John.
Yeah,
Tyler.
that was really a coming out party there. I mean, 4,380 total yards, 63
Quite a bit.
total touchdowns.
Unconscious.
Unbelievable.
He's one of the best. I mean, right there among anybody in terms of best quarterback, best offensive player, period. in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and the way he's able to do it on the ground as well, people don't realize because he throws the ball like he's already should be playing on Saturdays. He runs the ball incredibly well.
632 yards
And
rushing.
only a junior.
And 20 touchdowns on the ground.
Well, the one thing that I trust about him is that he's a coach's kid, and you know the coach's kids obviously always perform well. And he's just a born leader. You could tell everything about the kid in those last minutes of every game. He's very commanding. He did that against John Tyler, and he just put a beating on Denton Ryan last week.
Got the clutch gene.
Yeah, he definitely does. Now, talking about the clutch gene and talking about one more order of business we've got to take care of. We've got some predictions to go to.
Next year, I promise you, I'm not letting these guys get in my head at all.
Oh, you had it happen.
But I'm glad you admitted it.
However,
Great job,
before
E.
we go
Great job, buddy.
Yeah, we got his head.
Chalk.
Got a little real estate in there.
Before we go to predictions, before you guys lose your mind, let's take a look inside the Ford, or not the Ford Center. We're used to going to the Ford Center. Let's go to AT&T Stadium. It's not the prettiest sight in the world, but that is, if you're an Aledo Bearcats fan, Aledo wins another state championship as they take down Fort Bend Marshall in a big-time win. And Aledo and the Bearcats continue
See
their
number
winning
44
ways.
right there, Colt
Oh, man.
Ellison. He's their TCU defensive line commander.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's been out for most of the season. They did it without him.
Great season for the Buffs of Fort Bend Marshall. They do fall in this one, though. Aledo just way
55
too
to
strong.
19, Aledo. And they've done it. 8 state championships, a record-tying victory for the Bearcats.
Unbelievable. And of course, you look at the winning ways of Aledo and what they've been able to do. Not only 8 state championships, but those 8 state championships have come in how many years, Zach?
They've won 7 in the last 10.
That's unbelievable. That is a complete
You want to talk about a dynasty?
dominant dynasty.
And they've been there, 8 of those 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the definition, by definition, right? A dynasty.
Unbelievable. 55-19. But we're running out of time, so it's time to get to some pick'ems. And we talk about teams that have been really on fire. How about our team being on fire in terms of predictions? Over the last 2 weeks, we've predicted 10 games. So the state quarterfinals, state semifinals, we've predicted 10 games. Mr. Zach Wolchuk has gone 9-1.
Ooh, nice job, Zach.
Eric Chiofalo has gone 9-1.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, baby.
Myself has gone 9-1.
Oh, yeah.
Fire.
How about that? 27-3 between the three of us. Hek'ma Harrison, you're not up at that level, but you were still 8-2.
Well,
it's
you
pretty
deserve
good.
at least a fist bump for that.
Hey, Hek'ma, atta boy.
Got the fist bump.
Love
but
you.
8-2. Okay, Hek'ma, let's start things off. First game tomorrow, Highland Park, Shadow Creek.
You
Who
can go
got?
chalk this week, bro. It's okay.
I can't do this on there. He almost got me. You almost got me completely kicked out of the star right there. Okay, because I'm seasoned. I will go Highland Park.
Highland Park. There you go.
I'm taking the Scotties all the way.
Okay, HP. Eric.
HP, I love Sharks. I love Jamarian George, but
I
Highland
love all
Park,
of these things.
I love all of these things, but Highland Park just too dominant. The coaching, Chandler Morris, MVP, Friday Night Star of the Year. He proves it tomorrow. Highland Park gets the victory.
I think I'm going to go with Highland Park here as well. I think it'll be a really good game. I don't think this is going to be a rollover game by any means. I think Highland Park makes this a football game, or not Highland Park, Shadow Creek makes this a football game late, but I think Highland Park's too strong. Moving on to Longview and Beaumont Westbrook. Eric, we'll start off with you in this one.
Man, I think this is going to be a fantastic game. Haynes King needs to show up. They're going to have to put up some points because we know Westbrook can do that. I think they do it. I think Longview is just too well balanced. They're 15-0. They've been incredibly consistent. I think they get the victory, but it's a close game. Haynes King comes to perform. He hasn't shown up in the last 2 weeks. He does tomorrow.
Yeah, Lobo's too big, too tough. I just believe in Haynes King. He's had the last couple of games. He won't happen again.
And it's the power of McConaughey. I mean, honestly.
That's true. Of course.
I mean, come on.
It worked for Texas in 2005 in the Rose Bowl, and it'll work for the Longview Lobos 81 years. You don't have to wait any longer, Lobo fans. Your Longview Lobos will be state champions tomorrow.
We are the Lobos.
We're not the Lobos, but they are the Lobos, and I think those Lobos do get the job done tomorrow, and I think they win, like you said, their first state title in over 80 years. Now, this is where we might see some differences. Maybe.
Doubt it.
We have talked about Duncanville all year long. Does their magical ride, Coach Samples and company, come to an end? Zach, we're going to start with you.
I'm a man of my convictions. I said Duncanville week 1, and I ain't jumping off the Panther bandwagon this week. They knocked off Allen. I think Galena Park North Shore is an incredible football team. Would it shock me if they won? No. But I'm riding with the Duffel Bag Boys, Hek'ma, and the Duncanville Panthers.
Eric?
51-10 over Lake Travis last week was North Shore. And they got a quarterback that's
He's
only
about to do it
for 2 interceptions this year.
About to do it.
71% completion. What's that running back's name? Zach?
Zachary Evans.
It sure is.
We share a name. He's great.
Yeah, he's incredible. And his first name's amazing. And because of him, they win.
Oh.
North Shore gets the victory tomorrow. Offensive line too big, too physical. They're gonna be like, holy smokes, when they see Evans run the football.
Well, you talk about Evans, and I think they're incredible. I think North Shore's a really, really good football team. But like you, Zach, I've been riding the bandwagon for Duncanville since week 1. I predicted them in my bracket to win and go into the offseason as champions. I think Coach Samples is incredible. I think this has really been building all the way up into that point with that win last week against Allen. I think he's going to get a chance to win that state championship. But, boys, this is strictly business.
Come over to the dark side, Kyle.
I'm going to pick Galena Park North Shore.
Yeah.
I'm changing my mind. I know. I'm flaking on Duncanville. I think Duncanville's incredible, and if they win this football game, I'm going to be happy. I want Duncanville to win. It's strictly business.
Man, I hate flakes.
Hey, he just did it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I will tell you this, and look, I realize that you guys have adopted me into the media foe. I'm one of you guys
adopted
now.
yourself.
And yeah, right. So the number one thing about it is I'm definitely compromised in this because I'm a complete homer for Coach Samples.
That's okay.
I will say this, guys. I am like, and I'm gonna steal this line from Kill Bill. I'm like most fatherless bastards. I adopt male figures to be my dads. Right.
It's a family show. That was an R-rated film.
Right. Well,
Daddy Samples.
Like Daddy Samples, and he is a man. He is a man that has definitely helped mold who I am, the pride that he's put into me as a man and as a person. And Samples is one man that has thousands of sons. And I think that every son that he's ever coached right now wants him to win this championship. We all wish we could suit up and play for him to see him actually win it because he deserves it more than anybody that we know. Reginald Samples, you deserve this. The kids at Duncanville High School, I pray that you win this for a great man because he deserves a state championship.
So who you pick?
Duncanville.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I thought he was leaning North Shore there, man.
Yeah.
I thought he was picking Zachary Evans for a second.
Did you really?
No, not at all. I think you and I on this side of the table, we've gotten it all year, baby. Nothing's stopping that Panther magic this year.
Yeah, I think Duncanville's incredible. I think North Shore's right there with him, but this is going to be a fun game nonetheless to be a part of. If you're at the stadium tomorrow, come say hi. We'll be there all day long starting. I mean, Zach, you and I are probably going to get there, like 9 a.m.?
Yeah, probably early.
Yeah, really early, bright and early. But you know what, boys? It's time to close the book on what is another great episode of Friday Night Stars.
Hey, man, the true hero and the true MVP of Friday Night Stars.
Chris Bean, baby.
Absolutely.
Our technical director.
Oh, my gosh,
Matt,
what a year.
Worth every penny.
Feeling it
guys.
for us,
Matt
Chance.
Kent.
Thank you. Without
All
you
of
boys,
our
this wouldn't be a thing.
How about the reporters out there getting the job done all year long, getting us
Awesome
great
job,
shots. This has been one of the best times of my life.
Adrian Jegish.
Whataburger Friday Night Stars. But guess what? When
Ashley
we're done,
Pickle.
When we're
Guy
back on
Frazier.
air,
Guy Frazier.
The stud muffin himself.
boys, we have one more show. We've got another show tomorrow.
We're live from AT&T?
Live from AT&T.
Oh, man, they're letting us on the
kidding.
road. What a mistake.
They are letting us leave this friendly confine of
Hey, congratulations,
the star.
Toledo Bearcats and all the state champions so far.
Absolutely.
Let's get ready for a triple header tomorrow.
Next time we are on air, there are no more football games to talk about. It'll all be decided.
North Shore. North Shore.
This is DFW,
North Shore.
baby.
North
You should
Shore.
be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, man, it's been a lot of fun, boys.
Mute Eric Chiofalo's mic, please.
All right. One final sign off. We are Whataburger Friday Night Stars from the Star in Frisco. Join us tomorrow after Duncanville and North Shore goes final. We'll have exclusive interviews, highlights, updates, and Also, a lot of analysis and a lot of jokes to help you laugh your way into the 2018-2019 offseason. For those of you who may not get a chance to watch tomorrow night, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all those watching. For everybody involved with Whataburger Friday Night Stars all year long, for all of our reporters, for all of those credentialing who we've talked about all season long, for all the teams in the DFW area, for Mr. Chris Beam, for Fred Garner, for Chance Williams, for Matthew Kent. We are the Whataburger Friday Night Stars crew. Eric Chiofalo, Zach Wolchuk, Hek'ma Harrison. I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long until tomorrow night. We'll join you from AT&T Stadium.